My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft.
All right, license 66487D4 is a population of demons that are obsessed, which is exhibited through their stalking amongst what is sensational activity. Driving on the roads and the highways, stalking like you hear. It does not create any earthquake in the sidewalk. It doesn't create any trembling. It doesn't create any shaking in the road. It doesn't cause the bus bench where they are stalking me outside as the population of obsessed sex offenders, where the Nephilim are in pursuit of me on a ceaseless basis. And that third party is representing a whole population of the mentally ill that think that yelling out insults because they're embarrassed by their obsession with me, because it takes a whole population of them while they fail in what is a sacrifice unto Satan, hence sacrificing themselves. They're engaging what is also exhibiting obsession and demonstrating their mental illness, while sensational activity coexists with the stalking behaviors that population is engaging in on behalf of the state that is stalking with them sounding sirens. The state that is stalking, proven to all of you while you have seen the fake sun rise right here. The same street where I'm present at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and that fake sun is over me right here, over the top of my head, and not over Ontario Airport Inn, where a population of demons are stalking me obsessively. And obsessed with my smile, obsessed with my skin tone, obsessed with my pores and how small they are, obsessed with the shape of my lips, obsessed with the tone of my voice, obsessed with my skill set, obsessed with my abilities to call them out for exactly what they are. And that's the same thing that makes them envious. That's the same thing that caused them to think that they were going to overpower, because they think that this is a numbers game, and it's not. The numbers come into play with regard to a prosecution. The numbers come into play with regard to identifying it under federal law as terrorism. The numbers come into play with regard to how long you're going to prison. That's where numbers come into play. It is currently, by the way, Monday, November 3rd, 2025. The demons are engaged in ongoing stalking, just like they are exhibited engaging in that conduct as one of that population are obsessively stalking. Their obsession is proven through stalking with light. Their obsession is proven through the government's conduct of using all manner of its resources to keep you under surveillance. That's obsession. Their obsession is proven through the environment that is centered on you, things like a fake moon and a fake sun and light that's flying through the air with regard to their touching you. Their mental illness is thereby exhibited as well. This is the entity that's engaging in stalking as a population. And who's a part of that population? The demons of the Ontario Police Department. Vehicle 1125 stalking on Euclid Avenue, going in the direction north, crossing path. And that's also not creating any sort of vibration or shaking or earthquakes. The demons are stalking by flying over by planes. The demons are stalking by gang stalking, crossing path on the roads and the highways. This is all federal stalking under Title 18. And like I've already stated, and like the demon-possessed have already demonstrated to you, they have proven their obsession with me, the one who was here to prosecute them, and explain to you who they are. They are the Nephilim. They are the inherently inferior. They are the demon-possessed that are being prosecuted for gang stalking. This is P.O.C. That third party's license plate, they're sharing in that ongoing act of terrorism that is repeated over and over again thousands of times while a population of demons are stalking together. It is currently 6:26 a.m. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, stalking with the government. License plate. City of Ontario. License plate 22564 Uncle 3. That's a third party. License plate 7JMX854, stalking with Starbucks. Starbucks is stalking while demons line up on the sidewalk outside of their business as the means of where psychopaths are engaging in conspicuous stalking under the guise of being a customer. License 7SHE882. The entity is maintaining rumbling, audible activity while demons are stalking 8ZK785. Substantially similar, that's a black Honda Civic, and a white male is going in and out of what is 603 North Euclid Avenue. That's City of Ontario. That's gang stalking. These are the demons that are obsessed as you're prosecuting the government. That's what the City of Ontario represents, the Nephilim that make up a corrupt local government that's gang stalking, simultaneously exposing and serving to unseat domestic terrorists that are enemies of this country and are also severely mentally ill and incompetent, while the entity maintains a fake sun in that city where they're engaged in targeting an American citizen as a demon-possessed corrupt government body, a demon-possessed population engaged in what is the embarrassing pattern of conduct, gang stalking. And they're mentally ill while they do so. Their mental illness is shared by the fact that they're all stalking one person together. License W618 Larry 01UBR 379. They're all doing so under a fake sun that is, again, focused on me, like all of them are focused on me. License plate 9UPY425. These are the mentally ill that engage in serial killings. And that's why the gang stalking mayor is being unseated. That's why the gang stalkers that are identified as a domestic terrorist trying to masquerade as police chiefs, when they have unleashed terrorism in the city, while they have a bunch of terrorists driving around and stalking in helicopters and in police vehicles, and they're going to be removed from position. They share in that mental illness. That is absurdly threatening to the public. Okay, and it is the cause for this ongoing exposure of what is public corruption and a mental health crisis. Okay, this is P.O.C. It is currently 6:34, and specifically the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. A bunch of demons are obsessed with me. They're all obsessed with my vagina. They're sitting in multiple vehicles, sitting with their brake lights on, stalking in the path. That's what they're doing while these demons are patrolling, 9KNT820 included. This is how they are engaging in targeting someone. The elements of monitoring are here: crossing path, relevant positioning, light activity, coexisting by their crossing path, doing so as a population, as a group of them. This is psychopathic pacing. They share demon possession. These demons are going back and forth and 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 back and forth. But that's all they're doing. They're pacing around me. And they're doing that while demons are keeping their foot on the brakes outside of what is Starbucks, who is gang stalking. Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. It's a guise for criminal presence in the path. Sharing that with Starbucks and ARCO, where I'm at what is Ontario Airport Inn. There's no sunrise at the gas station, not on that day. This is where the entity's engaged in stalking, which you know that when I go away from these venues, when I'm prosecuting and the entity's targeting and the gang stalking immigrants are witnessing their legal process for being deported out of this country, they're witnessing it. This documentation, this is your case. It's unfolding on the internet. You're going to be deported. You're engaging in the pattern of conduct with the government. You're witnessing your prosecution. You're going to prison gang stalking with the police. You're going to prison kidnapping with this entity, the same entity that's engaging in this pattern of conduct. Absurdly psychopathic. Absurdly. 7DBY916. This is P.O.C. Starbucks is engaged in criminal facilitation. Starbucks has the fake sun rising and setting over me at 507 North Euclid Avenue. And then you're going to compare that with what I just documented at Ontario Airport Inn. And I want to be clear, not climate change, nor what is the daylight savings time will save any of those demons that engaged in kidnapping with that agency routinely targeting in furtherance of murder. The gang members of the Ontario Police, they committed kidnapping and they're going to prison for it. Okay? And they're mentally ill and delusional psychopaths who are on the record engaging in that federal offense within what is a system of terrorism. They're going to federal prison. They're still doing so while demons line up outside of that property, facilitating ongoing gang stalking that Starbucks is making money off of, Starbucks is engaged in, and Starbucks is facilitating while the gang stalkers go in and out of Starbucks making purchases. Park outside. They don't have to go in and purchase any coffee. You're not avoiding it. This is an entity that's engaging in it, and you all know that Starbucks is gang stalking because those idiots had the ignorance, the level of delusion to maintain the P.O.C. while I'm capturing. There's the fake sun at 6:33 a.m. There's the fake sun after 7 p.m. They're all stalking in the path at 507 North Euclid Avenue, and so is Starbucks. Chevron, ARCO, these are the venues that are open. You're going to prosecute the whole government. The City of Ontario is gang stalking right here at 603 North Euclid Avenue. P.O.C. 7JAT851. All right, this is 6:37 a.m. Remember, this is the entity that's going out of its way and is obsessed with me, stalking me outside. Coming to where I'm located, stalking outside, and they want you to hear what are insults. I want to be clear, those are demons that are, they want to hide and conceal their obsession with me. They're enamored with me and who I am. And they know very well that they're obsessed with my smile, my body shape, my face, everything about me. License EF41F91. That's a demon with a paper plate engaging in the sex offense under a fake sun. That's mentally ill behavior, and it's also sexually perverted behavior that's shared by a population of demons that are both stalking you, and then on the outside, on the surface, they're both stalking and they're also speaking to what is mentally ill conduct, speaking the very opposite of what they are doing. You're going to be diagnosed. It's not an appearance of innocence. You're looking to the left and right while you're stalking, you're going to be diagnosed. You're trying to hold your chin like you're bored while you're gang stalking and furtherance of murder. While you're being documented, you're going to be diagnosed. The entities engaged in stalk with impossible light, 9JMT318, sharing in sexual assault and battery, you're going to be diagnosed. Everything coming out of your face while you're gang stalking, you're stalking somebody that you're obsessed with, and you're also filled with hate and you're trying to insult that person that you're stalking in furtherance of murder, while you are exhibited and already proven to be obsessed with everything, including the genitalia of that person that you're stalking, you're going to be diagnosed. The psychopathic pattern of conduct is that which is sexually violent, it's demented, it's depraved, it's demonic, and it's criminal. It's all of the above. That's why you're hearing what is the entity speaking, trying to throw out insults, which is audible activity, in the same exact engineer light, on the same street, by the way, where the fake sun is now resuming what is a rise and a set, because it's not going to be over Bethel Congregation and alignment to me, while it's over what is the Ramada by Windham, the Ontario Airport Inn, and my shadows projected on the tree in the same courtyard where I'm capturing the fake sun over my head at 12 in the afternoon. And that, remember, that shadow of that light activity, which is impossible, now coming from the sun that's above, projected like a laser through the shade, and the entity has that fake sun, that's at 7:55 in the morning. What is over my head while I'm in that same courtyard at 12 o'clock in the afternoon? I'm going to let you know what it isn't. It's not the natural environment. While you're speaking what is audible activity, speaking to your psychopathic disorder while you are stalking. That's not going to cause a mental health professional, a legitimate one, not a demonic one, not the gang stalkers, legitimate mental health professionals, medical professionals to diagnose you. That's not going to help you. That's going to serve for the appropriate diagnosis. You are stalking under all circumstances. In fact, you're stalking under things like a fake sun. And you thought, based on a gang stalking system, that when you throw out insults, when you harass the target individual, that's going to reflect poorly on them. They're going to be mentally ill while you harass them. They're going to be mentally ill while you're stalking them. They're going to be mentally ill while they have evidence proving that you're stalking them, and you have a whole team of stalkers to that same end. Those are the demons that are going to be diagnosed. And I want to be clear, they are very much obsessed with my body measurements. They're obsessed with my body fluids. They're obsessed with my genitalia because they're sex offenders. And that's the reality of their true sentiments toward me. That's why they're stalking. That's the reality. And that demon that you heard last night was speaking on behalf of the state that's stalking right now. And they were all speaking together. That's why they're all stalking ceaselessly right now. This is the P.O.C. The mentally ill are going to be appropriately diagnosed. License R.S. Oh, I can't really see that one. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in that. CHEVRON. That's 506 North Euclid Avenue. That's Balbier. ARCO, the Starbucks, they're open, engaging in the P.O.C. You have a bunch of demons that are engaged in the federal RICO case against the state of California. Okay, every business is engaged in criminal surveillance, and it is a federal RICO case of epic proportions. Okay, and this is again based on the obsession behind what is stalking the person that they have also conspired to murder. Okay, that is again a psychopath. License plate. Sunrun is gang stalking. T51 U.S. That's a Utah plate. A demon is operating a Sunrun vehicle. That's a commercial means of conspiracy to murder. Sunrun is gang stalking. P.O.C. It is currently, like I stated, 6:42 a.m. on Monday, November 3rd, 2025. This is P.O.C. All right, license 8, Yolanda Apple Paul 982, and license 09979 Edward 4. That is the infamous graffiti protective coatings. Everybody also knows that they're gang stalking, and they're also doing so with Starbucks. This is the entity that's, again, losing self-control when they're documented, and demons want to argue with the target individual that's documenting, and I'm not the ordinary target individual. I'm also federal prosecutor. This is the demons that lose self-control when they're embarrassed. And they're embarrassed by that which they know is underway. Graffiti protective coatings engaging in harassment while they're inside the vehicle. You must already know what it is that I'm stating about you when I'm just looking at your vehicle. Those are demons that are monitoring. You're looking at what they are engaging in on the surface, because those same circumstances, what they use to say, oh, nobody's stalking you, you're paranoid. Those same circumstances is what applies to you being documented. You're in your car, you're not focused on me. Why are you even triggered by what it is that I'm talking about? What are you yelling and mad about? What are you talking about? How do you know that I'm not taking a picture of a company that I want to send a text message in order to have that with my company, and I want to order those services? Like, well, what is it that you already know about what I'm doing if you're not gang stalking? If you're not doing what it is that the evidence has already proven that you are, you're just entertaining all of their delusions because they're going to be diagnosed. They are engaged in an ongoing admission. They're triggered because they lost. They're embarrassed with regard to being exposed as demons. They're ashamed with regard to being publicly embarrassed regarding their own witchcraft ricocheting. Okay, this is a failed humiliation ritual. And by the way, you don't have anything to be humiliated about when a whole bunch of people are obsessively stalking you. They're the ones that are engaging in that which is embarrassed. That's what you're witnessing. They're all embarrassed. 7TPZ523. ARCO employee license 9 Thomas Igloo Henry 520. Being prosecuted while I'm at the Ontario Airport Inn. Being prosecuted, and so is the business. All of them. The entity, this is the street where they're entertaining the fake sunrise and gang stalking through their employees. I'm going to prosecute Chevron, and I'm going to prosecute their employees, and any of them that are immigrants are getting deported as well. 9CPW 515 93781J3. And Balbier is gang stalking at Chevron with the demons, gang stalking at gas stalls number 1 and 3, and 5. They're maintaining criminal presence in the path. I'm walking out. The entity stalking by the airport and the police department under the fake sun, stalking me inside of the Chevron market. That was Balbier's documented terrorism, and Chevron's documented terrorism days ago. And then the entity has the fake sun over me at 1801 East G Street. 8UOV289, a serial stalker. License plate. Turn signal is light activity. License 89383W3. This is a gang stalker. Home team pest defense. They are a pest. They are a demon-possessed one. It's a white male driving that vehicle. That's vehicle number 404796. Home team is gang stalking. Just like Allied Universal, okay? They're doing so under a fake sun. That fake sun is proving the fact that they're engaged in state surveillance. Those companies are engaged in state surveillance, and they're doing so pursuant to what is being, in real time, being exposed for it. And they do so in the most embarrassing manner when you see the population of demons, like the cockroaches that they are, crawling around me, engaging in what is a failed ritual of sacrificing me. They've all sacrificed themselves, including under that fake sun. Because the entity kept that fake sun over me at 1801 East G Street. That's the fake sun. And the evening at 5:11 p.m., that fake sun was still over that hotel apartment building. So what is Balbir working under? She's working under circumstances of being engaged in what is federal group stalking and monitoring, which is mandatory deportation. She's doing so with the government as well, that added terrorism by the police department. That's a threat to your liberty, your life, your safety, your well-being. While engaging in what is federal stalking, you're monitoring the evidence that you are engaged in keeping under surveillance. You don't have a defense. You state all that you want. They're monitoring on devices. They're engaged in criminal presence with the government. You cannot state that you're not gang stalking. You're there while the government is stalking. You're going to be prosecuted. License 6TCA262. This is the P.O.C. amongst what is ARCO and CHEVRON. Stalking me and, again, obsessed with me while the entity's both on the one hand yelling out insults, which is audible activity while you're obsessively monitoring and you're stalking. You can't yell out insults unless you are stalking me. You're stalking. If you weren't stalking, you wouldn't be sitting there like a psychopath, aiming light on the wall, speaking to and yelling for, pleading for. That's a plea for help. Pleading for help regarding their severe mental illness, stalking with light. While the entity is engaging in that P.O.C., this is the population that is stalking me while earthquakes are coexisting with demons that are driving on the street. Those are demons that are speaking to and admitting their obsession with me. The fact that they're stalking me, they're there because I'm there. They're stalking me while I'm outside. Stalking with the Ontario, City of Ontario is C6TCA262. That's a demon with a black hoodie on, staring at his phone while the demon starts sounding plane activity. Those are the demons that are hurling out insults, and they're doing so with Balbir. She's being deported while this demon's driving off. They're getting rid of each other. They're getting rid of each other. These are demons that are very much, however, very much engaged in what is ongoing ceaseless stalking. License 7TPZ523, stalking with the Ontario Airport. And this is all with the Ontario Police Department. License 8FGM027, stalking with the Ontario Airport. You already know that West Coast arborists are gang stalking with the Ontario Airport, because that's what they're doing, stalking at the lights where the entity controls the traffic lights, stalking with the airport. West Coast arborists, license plate 300607 Henry 2, 33140H1. That's a gang stalking landscaper, 92117W3. Gang stalking at the traffic lights where I'm at, where the entity's sounding plane activity. 6B79582. Gang stalking pool cleaners. Their license, California 5310400426. They're losing that licensure. And if that's being driven by an immigrant, they're also getting deported. So is their gang stalking baby mama. Their little demon-possessed children, they're all getting shipped out of here if they're not even natural-born citizens. This is P.O.C. Okay, the entity is engaged in gang stalking, parking right here outside of ARCO with 9TIH520, pulling off while the entity sounds plane activity. Balbir is staying right here, and Balbir is not going to stay in this country while she's right here gang stalking with the population that just repeats that same presence, just another demon doing the same thing on behalf of the government that's maintaining surveillance in planes and helicopters, and they're mentally ill, obsessed, and they're also unintelligent. They're very unintelligent. They're gang stalking at their homes. I'm going to go ahead and put a Google Maps, and I'm going to show you their house numbers, because this is relevant to the entity that's going to be raided. They are subject to what are federal prosecutions. The federal government can raid you at home with regard to deporting you, prosecuting you for terrorism, since they're gang stalking with it, because that's exactly what they're doing. License plate 8UMH340. I'm going to go ahead and show you that documentation where they're at. 9RK536, 8NOB686, license 9ULY633. Gang stalking on the roads and the highways, gang stalking at their house, bringing the feds right to where you live. That's fine, because you did that when you had the fake sun over me while I'm walking past your home, while you're crossing path, engaging in criminal surveillance, conspiring the murder of another, that you're gang stalking where you live, which is the most foolish thing that you can do. Everybody is looking at the ways in which the federal government knows exactly what you're doing. They know exactly what you're doing while you use your business, while you use your vehicle, while you use your the government resources while you use where it is that you live. And that's exactly what you're doing, while a whole supernatural phenomenon exists over my head while I'm in the presence of where you pay your rent or your mortgage or where you're just rooming. You're gang stalking. Be prepared to be arrested. Be prepared to be raided. Be prepared to have Department of Homeland Security raid the neighborhoods where immigrants are going to be rounded up and moved out of here. They're gang stalking. License 8M65547. And this is, I want to be clear, the entity that's reaped this, they've reaped this. The audible activity that you heard coming out of the mouth of that demon last night, who is obsessed with me. That obsession is shared by an entity, a bunch of demons. This animal face demon that's gang stalking the parking lot, I'm gonna get her license plate again. She is a serial stalker. This is again a demon that's engaged in what is speaking on behalf of the entity that is stalking. You're stalking and speaking insults about what doesn't change factually is that you're stalking. You are engaging in what is this pattern of conduct, and they speak as the entity. That entity includes the gang stalking immigrants. All right, that level of impunity, that disregard for the law, that psychopathic and abnormal and criminal response to your lawlessness, that's being spoken by the immigrants who have a disdain for the law and your rights while they're being documented and proven. The entity likes to engage in gang stalking through those that speak foreign languages. When I speak to the deportation policy, they like to play their music. Remember, that's audible activity. It's deliberate. So while they're engaging, this is to their own demise. Nobody's going to be crying for you when it's on the news how you were being deported, how the way in which you were caught and deported out of this country. They're coming around while they're monitoring the evidence, again, hurting themselves, very much mentally ill, hurting yourself, playing your music with your foreign language regarding your culture while you're gang stalking me because you're hostile about the deportation policy that appropriately refers to removing terrorists and murderers and sex offenders that are engaging in this pattern of conduct. Terrorists. That's the entity that is speaking to their true sentiment regarding this country. Remember, the entities engaging in this P.O.C. while you hear that loud activity, this is what you heard last night while Ontario Fire sounds their sirens and you heard what was reminiscent of a gunshot. This is what you heard last night while the entity was sounding train activity, while I'm speaking to very damning the fact that they have sex with kids. Right? That's what you heard, the same thing, the ongoing loud activity because of the reality of the gang stalkers who are immigrants who hate this country and they hate your so-called rights, and they also hate you because they're demons. They're doing the work of Satan. And guess what? Those demons are actually inside of people who are being granted a privilege under the law, a privilege that is not permanent or irrevocable. And it certainly isn't upon facts of domestic terrorism. And they're being deported. And they engage in what is communicating their hostility toward this country, because that's what I represent, the laws of this country, the lawlessness of those that are engaging in criminal activity with the government that's murdering people, and the immigrants are sharing in that. 8UOV289, is gang stalking again, crossing path, and they're doing so while they play their music with their foreign languages, while they listen to me document the fact that they're going to be deported, and they exhibit ongoing impunity and malice while using what is foreign language with regard to gang stalking immigrants, and that's fine. You all need to know that. Don't cry for them when they're being deported, when they're being shipped out of here. P.O.S.T.M. That's a license plate. Do not cry for them. Don't cry for them. And I want to be clear, tears aren't going to keep them in this country in the first place. That's a sentiment. Meaning you ought not feel sorry for those that are terrorists that have engaged in what is coming to this country by way of a privilege, and then abusing that privilege as though you're going to replace those that are actually American citizens that are born here. But this is actually a melting pot. So I'm not going to speak on that. Is relevant, the fact that you are a natural born citizen versus one that's an immigrant and wants to be a part of this country. But that's also the beauty of this country. It's being abused. So rather than focusing on that, which is relevant, what I am going to say is you are in this country and you are not fit to be in this country. Not only because of your criminal conduct, but because of how absurdly criminal and mentally ill you are. You're going around being a maniacal psychopath, stalking and then terrorizing people with your culture because you're listening to the fact that you're going to be deported, and you are. 8M65547, that's literally them using their culture to engage in terrorism. How is that? Because you're applying what is their demonic behavior to their criminal activity. You're playing your foreign language music while you are creating what is audible activity in the engineer light, and you're doing so as a means of obstruction of justice. You're harassing me and targeting me with that method of audible activity because you've listened to what the deportation policy is. And by the way, this is not new. Immigrants that are engaging in terrorism, that's been on the books before. You're engaged in gang violence. You, your mother, your grandmother, your children, your spouses, your cousins, your neighbors. Because you're bringing the heat on everybody. Everybody on that street is subject to what is a raid. That whole community. You're bringing that on yourself. In the same way, by the way, where you're targeting American citizens and you think that you have the cover of the government. Oh, the government that you're going to call the gang members when you're gang stalking me. And then you're going to celebrate and harass while you play your foreign music, your foreign language music with regard to being hostile because of the law applying to your criminal activity. What is it that you're stating about your own culture in doing that? Because you're a demon doing that, and you're also a terrorist doing that. What is it that you're stating about your culture while you are conceding that you're engaged in terrorism and that you're hostile about the law applying? But yet you're in this country stating that you want to be like us, you want to be here amongst us, and you're speaking to what is the quintessence of the unworthiness to be in this country at the same time. All of that is happening at the same time. What is it that you're stating about your culture, though? Because you've already stated that you're not worthy of being here, and that's going to be handled. But I just want to be clear. These are demons that are mentally ill, and they're very highly unintelligent. They do not realize what it is that they are communicating about themselves while they are focused and stalking me, somebody that they should have stayed far away from. They should have left me alone. If you're a law-abiding citizen, if you're not a demon-possessed gang stalker, you don't have anything to worry about. But that doesn't exist in California, every single last one of you, because you're all listening to my voice. You're being deported. And this is speaking to what are your true sentiments regarding this country while you're gang stalking. No, you do not love this country while you're gang stalking. In case you didn't realize that, that's what that means. And if you hate it so much, don't worry. You're being removed. You're being removed. And you can play your cultural music as much as you want as a symbolic means of communicating hostility and hatred while you're breaking the law. You could do that wherever you came from. You could do that there. And what you think that you're doing in secret, you're doing it in front of the whole world. That's why they're listening to that iteration of terrorists that have been given a privilege here in their means of gang stalking that is terrorizing, conspiring murder of American citizens. Yes, you are being deported, absolutely. Pacing, 8UMH340, going to Starbucks and crossing path. Starbucks is engaging in facilitating ongoing terrorism. It is currently 6:59 a.m. This is P.O.C. Demons lining up in the parking lot of the ARCO, where the entity is covering up the fake sun because these are demons with a short span of a memory. You've already seen the fake sunrise here at this parking lot. We're psychopathic pacing by the demons of the Ontario International Airport is underway. So covering up the fake sun when I'm coming back from a hotel stay is not under any circumstances changing anything, and nobody forgot that. These are the mentally ill that are stalking with light. These are the mentally ill that are stalking using commercial planes, using their whole airline companies to engage in stalking me, their obsession with me, and they're also mentally ill. Okay, these are the demon-possessed that are engaged in stalking in the parking lot in concert with that government, doing so while you're covering up the fake sun. There is no point in the day, in other words, where that fake sun shining in the sky space is going to be the natural environment, is going to be any deviation from the same pattern of conduct. These are the mentally ill who are demon-possessed. License 7MAM913, serial stalking. Okay, I documented her getting out of her vehicle, very disturbed appearance. Okay, these are the demons that are talking about themselves when they're obsessively stalking me. No, you're talking about your mother, that's ugly. You're talking about your co-defendant over here, that's ugly, while you're all stalking me. License 8MQB725. Okay, I captured her image and everything coming out of her face. That's a gang stalker, that's engaged in what is harassment. Gang stalker with the housing authority, that's that demon. License 8UMH340, that's a female going into 420 North Lemon Avenue, and doing so at 7:01 a.m. License 7JQX766. Alrighty, and the housing area where they are routinely engaged in the P.O.C., all that they're doing now is illuminating the intersection, demons stalking in their vehicles. This is what they're doing in front of Starbucks. Okay, so this is what they're doing while I am at the ARCO. License 9UCZ280 while the demons have siren sun in the background. This is very pathetic what they do. This is sad, but this is the mentally ill. License plate 7RNF822 at 201 E Street. E as in Erica. 6 Charlie Sam Paul 379. License plate, gang stalking with the people of the state that are living right here. No back license plate. License 9SRX564, 5D. In K311. These are the demons that are gang stalking. This is E Street and Lemon. And I'll go ahead and highlight what is the actually, I'm going to go ahead and capture images right now. 201, 209 E Street. Yeah. This is the P.O.C. This is the people that stay there and be prosecuted by address. You'll be prosecuted identifying you by license plate. You'll be prosecuted identified by city, neighborhood. Like, there is no escaping in the same way that you thought that there was no way of escaping for a targeted individual whom you derive pleasure from targeting as a bunch of demons who are psychopaths. And they think because they insult you that means that they're not getting stalked. No, they're monitoring even while they're creating audible activity and insulting you while they are stalking you. You don't even really feel that way. That's why you're stalking me. You and your neighbor. You and your mother. P.O.C. It is 211 East Street. Excuse me, 212 East Street, 213 East Street. License 8AMF 573 while the demons are stalking with the smaller government plane. You can hear it. 8YNS 081, that's plane activity. 7WKD 254. And I already went down this street. The entity had the fake sun over me. Demons were gang stalking in large utility vehicles, and they were stalking while the entity was maintaining plane activity. And a demon at the same time is coming out to their vehicle as a method of stalking with light activity. I already documented this specific street. Gang stalking, 1544467, Ontario, Montclair. Demons driving school buses is what is going to be handled with regard to the prosecution of a corrupt entity like the city of Ontario. All right, this is 212 East Street and 216 East Street. This looks like some sort of duplex. You have multiple households then in that building. SUKRASO, P.O.C. The demons are following with planes while the demons are stalking me, including while you are in your home. You're stalking. The fake sun is showing the fact that you're a stalker while it's remaining over me as I walk by your home, and the feds are going to hone in on you. 8NAX 015, 2307 9V2, 9JOU 715, 8NXU 677, 6SEY 051, 34177 Victor 3, P.O.C. All right, these are third parties. The entities gang stalking. They were lighting up this intersection right here. A whole bunch of demons stalking with light. That occurs where they are sitting in their vehicles, daytime or nighttime. It's a method of stalking with light. Remember, it's the significance of being in the engineered environment. If this were a natural environment, there's nothing suspicious about any of that because they're not actually focused on you. They're not engaged in some malicious iteration of stalking you, doing so while you're supposed to make a disconnection between. There's no connection between, and there isn't in reality. There's no connection between going to make a purchase at Starbucks if you're not under a fake sun. But that's not what's happening. 9GVC319. The sun is not going to stay over Starbucks from 6:33 in the morning until 7:15 in the evening. Yes, you're stalking, and it's conspicuous and very obvious, and you're a whole fool whose insults are audible activity, and it's evidence of your obsession with me that you failed in keeping a secret. Nobody believes that everybody knows that you're worshiping me, in other words. Nobody believes what's coming out of your mouth. It's audible activity, Satan, and it's pathetic. It's pathetic. It's as pathetic as having a whole city of demons stalking one person and losing publicly. License 9LDZ526. Gang stalking with your whole family. You and your little demon-possessed children. It's pathetic. You and your entire cursed household. It's pathetic. That's what the Nephilim are made of. That's what they're made up of. Gang stalking businesses, gang stalking families, gang stalking government. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. It is currently 7:05 a.m. That's East Street and Lemon. And I'll go ahead and highlight that on a map so you can look at it as well. You want to engage in criminal activity where you live, you're going to do it in front of the whole world. You're going to do it in front of the feds. And I'm going to make sure that it's highlighted and underscored. It is currently, again, 7:06 a.m. This is P.O.C. License plate 9ULM763. 5TSP366. Stalking with the Ontario Airport that's no longer flying over the ARCO parking lot. Stalking just like the demon inside of the Saris Regis downtown Ontario luxury apartments garages. Following me outside of the venue onto the sidewalk. Following me from the town square to this parking lot area last night. Did so on video just like I stated, stalking. Okay, and exhibiting stalking, and the more that you speak the truth about the demons that they are, the more that demon inside of them openly exposes itself by that behavior. 8YCJ191, 8GWA172, 7SAY308. This is state stalking, all of them. And I want to be clear, they're engaging that in furtherance of murder. You're not just going to be prosecuted as a stalker, you're going to be prosecuted as what you are, a co-conspirator of murder. P.O.C. You're going down with the gang stalking government. And those are no small charges, and you are being deported by virtue of that. All right, that's affecting your record permanently, and that's going to. You're talking about if you're receiving government benefits, you won't after that. You never will. You won't be getting past any criminal record. You certainly won't be operating any business with the loss of that licensure for that reason, which is also going to be public information. You will not be maintaining that. You're not staying in office as a gang stalking mayor. You're not staying out of prison as a gang stalking police officer, engaging in kidnapping, being documented. You're not staying out of prison. You're going straight to prison. And kidnappers like JANAYA1 third-party license plate going into downtown Ontario luxury apartments that's filled with engineer light, they're stalking. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and you're not staying out of federal prison when you are a terrorist leader like what Mike LORENZ and Derek Williams are. Okay, that's the P.O.C. City of Ontario gang stalking, maintaining a light activity while they're centering their attention around a statue. License 57812 Frank 2. The entity is doing so with the City of Ontario, stalking with planes. This is mental illness, where the demon-possessed are engaging that P.O.C. together. Let me go ahead and show you that. Plane activity, relevant positioning. Crossing path, 7VBJ471, and this is City of Ontario. Here at multiple hours during the day, fake sun. The demon that was working on this statue, fake sun, was over the building. This was before 8 o'clock in the morning, and the entity had engineer light in the middle of the parking lot. A demon that was sitting in their vehicle was monitoring with this demon on the surface, looking like separate, and they're not. They're stalking together with light. This is presence with the government using what are planes. The City of Ontario is going to be a basis to deport gang stalking immigrants. The government's engaged in what is facilitating terrorism, and this is mental illness while they're gang stalking, keeping their back to you. 57812 Frank 2. This is P.O.C., and these are the demons that summon the kidnappers of the gang members that use helicopters and police vehicles, and this is breaking down that corrupt system. These are demons that are going to the library as a means of what is stalking in the path. You're doing the same thing when you're going to Starbucks and buying a cup of coffee. They're stalking with light activity. They're doing so under the fake sun, where you saw what Amazon Prime is doing. This is, again, the iteration of the same P.O.C. And this is criminal use of resources to maintain what is surveillance by demons. Okay? Demons that are engaged in that pattern of conduct. Dropping off a book at OVITT Family Community Library is a means of what is psychopathic pacing, getting in and out of the car, and turning on and off their lights. It's light activity while the demons are stalking in commercial plane, just like you saw last night, with the demons that are exhibiting severe mental illness, stalking in the path. License plate 7VBJ471, that's P.O.C. This is OVITT Family Community Library, and you've already seen the fake sun, including at it's 7:10 a.m. You've seen the fake sun over me at this venue at this time as well. P.O.C. This is indeed what is light activity. All right, and these are the demons that are going to be deported. The City of Ontario, gang stalking immigrants are being deported. They engage in kidnapping with the Ontario Police Department. They engage in what is criminal summoning. They are exhibiting mental illness while they're laughing. And I want to be clear, they'll be insulted when people are laughing at them being deported out of this country. All right, but this is what is understanding justice, and this is why you do not have sympathy for terrorists that are engaging in this is the elements of monitoring, and this is committed in furtherance of murder, and it's shared by a population. 8 LAS 613 is engaged in what is psychopathic pacing. The other third party, the light activity on this vehicle, the ongoing plane activity, no longer stalking by plane over the ARCO. Okay, they're engaged in what is following with an environment. Covering up the fake sun doesn't change that. Okay, they're in the engineered environment. Engineer light was appearing on the roof inside of that parking garage. They're stalking. This is P.O.C. It is currently 7:11 a.m. This is the mental health concern regarding the population of humans that are getting stalking together, and this is the removal of polygon. 8LVF141. The removal of polygon by necessity regarding public corruption in the City of Ontario. That's pursuant to what is the criminal activity of federal stalking and monitoring gang stalking. P.O.C. This is 215 ECC. Alrighty, that was video that I'm capturing, so you're probably picking up, sorry, I don't mean the noise because I'm rolling my bag at the same time. The entity is stalking with the presence of the demons that are using the means of City of Ontario. The same orange truck I documented in the morning, it's not individualized, but the entity is stalking through the third parties and state actors that I also documented just days ago while I'm walking to the town square, where you already know that the entity has the fake sun, covering it up after I come from a venue. This is what they do. I go to Los Angeles, I go to Pomona, I go to Fontana. The next day, the entity covers up the fake sun. You already saw it. That was the point of what was so spectacular about the evidence in the first place, because of what the demons are doing at the Ontario Town Square, at the OVITT Family Community Library, where the sun doesn't go anywhere. Okay, the entity covers it up after I come back from these venues. You just saw it here yesterday in the evening while Dylan is engaging in a sex offense. He's stalking with light, just like these demons are. It's another iteration of the same conduct. They're pacing all around with the method of light. Okay, they're doing so with headlights that are not going to be touching your body when they're miles away from you either. In the same way that sunlight's not ricocheting off of objects and shooting into parking garages and moving across ceilings and roofs and also causing your shadow to appear above your head. That's stalking with light pursuant to surveillance. And it's also exposing the demon that is mentally ill engaging in that. And it's a population of them. They're doing so while they're representing the government that's engaging in that pattern of conduct. That's the government that's facilitating stalking. Stalking conduct that's happening with regard to what is exposing public corruption because of sharing in it with the population of demons, going to the OVITT Family Community Library, criminal presence in the path, light activity, audible noise provided by the state, stalking as the airport. The entity is doing so while they're also, literally my voice as I'm narrating the P.O.C. is a means of audible activity of them monitoring. But I don't have to say a word. The plane activity, stalking in the path, and they're using the resources of what is Polyon, the municipality that's gang stalking. Using City of Ontario vehicles, using City of Ontario venues, which is what is ongoing at the Ontario Town Square. This is the entity that's engaging in that P.O.C. And doing so, I want to be clear, the plane activity is following as I go. So I'm crossing paths with those demons in that orange truck, and Budget is maintaining light activity at the Ontario Town Square. They're maintaining the same environment. This is the significance of having a fake sun while you're in everyone's presence. That fake sun remains over you. This is what the demons are doing while they maintain light activity around you. Budget is already a documented terrorist. Budget is a corrupt business that's engaging in terrorism, and they're doing so. So you're talking about what is the prosecution of that entity, and this is the mentally ill that are engaging in conduct on behalf of Mike Lorenz, on behalf of the entity that engages in it with planes and helicopters, gang stalking immigrants, those that are engaging in what are facilitation of this ongoing gang stalking system, businesses like Starbucks, businesses like Chevron and ARCO, businesses like the Ontario Airport Inn, businesses that are engaged in that P.O.C. As I'm documenting them, walking up and down the street, and they're maintaining a means of light activity. Okay, this is the exact same thing that the City of Ontario is maintaining while I am walking by the OVITT Family Community Library, where they're maintaining light activity and plane activity. And that's also why the plane activity is not happening north of my person as I already passed that venue. That light activity is, that plane activity is progressing as I'm progressing, which you are all witnessing when the entity maintains a fake sun. These are gang members. Okay, maintaining light activity. Budget, gang stalking, license plate. This is light activity. This is all criminal conduct, and it's facilitation. And Budget is a third party, and all the demons operating Budget vehicles are third parties. And this is, again, sanctioned by the state. This is the Oklahoma plate. Budget is license plate 3BZ536, and the City of Ontario is facilitating it, where Budget is under the guise of providing some service to the property, engaging in the P.O.C. 03366W3, light activity. This is what the gang stalkers of Wells Fargo employees engage in, by the way, when they park to arrive at work at the facilitating venue. The demons are simultaneously stalking with plane activities over the venue. This is what the demons are doing while they are under a fake sun. And these are demons that are engaging in the P.O.C. while they are also may or may not be immigrants. You're talking about that immigration policy that's applying uniformly. Every business and every resident, every citizen of the state is engaged in this gang stalking system. It applies uniformly to the immigrant population, and it applies to the prosecution of businesses that are hiring those that are engaging in the pattern of conduct like what Budget is sharing in right now. This is exactly what the City of Ontario is doing with the orange vehicle, the orange truck. And they're stalking in the path while aiding with the demons that are crossing paths on the street on Lemon Avenue. They're maintaining what is light activity by getting out, returning a book to the OVITT Family Community. It's stalking in the path with light, doing so together while the entity flies over by planes. These are the demons that are gang stalking together. And these are the demons that are out of their mouth, oh, I'm not stalking you because I'm insulting you, I'm hurling out insult, and that's supposed to suggest that they're not. These are demons that are mentally ill. They are together sexually engaged in what is obsessing over the targeted individual while they represent companies that are targeting American citizens, doing so with gang stalking government bodies like a police department and a fire department that's engaged in surveillance, not firefighting. They're all engaged in what is maintaining the elements. And this is, again, the psychopathic conduct of what is stalking as an entity of demons. They're maintaining light activity, they're maintaining presence, and they're maintaining ongoing noise, audible activity. This is the entity that's doing so with regard to presence that is shared, surveillance by the population of demons, engaged in surveillance at the Ontario Town Square. All right, that is again budget. Let me go ahead and document their license plates. I captured images of them. I'm going to recite them on the podcast. Budget, the company, and these particular third parties that are doing so. This is again Paul Leon that's being exposed. Everything that's happening in the city of Ontario is that which is sanctioning ongoing state surveillance, and this is in furtherance of murder. The entity's gang stalking to commit a criminal objective, which is including the loss of life, which is not an accident. It's not an act of negligence. It's not just some unfortunate, mysterious demise. The entity engages in what is targeting the person in furtherance of murder, and they're engaging in what is facilitation with the demons that are engaged in surveillance at the town square. 3BZ536. That's an Oklahoma plate. License plate 03366 Wendy 3. That's a white pickup truck Ford. City of Ontario is gang stalking like they are every day. So these are demons that are present to share in the elements of monitoring with the City of Ontario. 3GB573, that's an Oklahoma plate. And this is budget. Okay, large commercial vehicles, it's light activity, flashing of light. This is mental illness. They engage in the peculiarized light conduct, and the demons who are the people of the state are pacing up and down. It's not traffic, it's surveillance. This is light activity. They put on neon jackets, they put on helmets, they dig in the concrete. They're doing so through what is state-sponsored methods of what are corrupt corrupt, which is getting to malicious methods of monitoring. And you're understanding what monitoring is, and you're stalking in that environment. The entity has no place where they belong, where they're monitoring you, and which is pursuant to what is stalking you, and that's how it's going to be treated under the law. You are monitoring at your home, you're monitoring at work, you're monitoring where you share a place of residence with the targeted individual, and you are stalking. You're stalking on behalf of the government that also doesn't have any legitimate interest in monitoring American citizens, has no authority under the law to engage in that, and it is also public corruption to be recognized under federal law that the businesses that are in that state coming and crossing lines to engage in monitoring with that government in that state are engaging in that while stalking and doing so, and they are doing so in furtherance of murder. It is not just criminal monitoring, which is psychopathic enough. It's relevant to mental illness. It is that which is going to be the prosecution of businesses and governments and the civilian population as conspiracy to murder. While you're gang stalking, you are acting in furtherance of committing murder as an entity. This is an entity that's engaging in that, and that is the P.O.C. at 7:20 a.m. This is an entity that is stalking. While you're looking at that, that's the entity that is the another iteration of keeping a fake sun that's moving north and south up Euclid Avenue as I go from 537 North Euclid Avenue to the Ontario Town Square, and then that fake sun sets here. Okay, that's the iteration of the entity having the fake sun over the top of my head. Wherever it is that I go, that's stalking with light. They do the same thing with regard to maintaining peculiarized light in that environment, but you're looking at what is the significance of stalking with engineering light. That whole environment is remaining and going where I go. They're all stalking in that environment while they're all monitoring in an environment, and they're doing so with the government. That's stalking from place to place with planes. The audible noise of that plane activity while you cover up the fake sun is still evidence of you stalking. None of that plane activity is going to be heard if Atif, Al-Qadi, and the Ontario board weren't engaged in deviating from what are actual takeoffs from Terminals 2 and Terminal 4, because miles away, you're not taking off when you're flying what is from the Ontario airport. You're talking about what is necessarily coming north to then fly next to essentially what I captured on video at 10:10 in the morning to fly then cross path with me at the Ontario airport in. Okay, when you're coming from the terminal, you look at the map of where the Ontario airport is and where Ontario Airport Inn is located, because it's more so coming in the direction what would be north to come up closer to where Ontario Airport Inn is, and then proceed flying, crossing path, going west and doing so. But nonetheless, when you're engaged in what is quote-unquote a takeoff from that location, you are engaged in what is ongoing crossing a path conduct when you are then still taking off over the Ontario Town Square. They're coming from the same terminals, the same airport, Terminal 2 and Terminal 4. This is what budget is engaging in. It's light activity. It's stalking by a company full of demons who are engaging in monitoring, and this is in furtherance of murder. Budget's engaged in the conspiracy to commit murder. You're going to prosecute businesses as criminals that they are, and you're also going to prosecute them as sex offenders that they are. This is what budget is doing with regard to monitoring your genitalia. They're outside of the buildings keeping you under surveillance, monitoring you in bathrooms while stalkers go in. Stalkers like the budget employees, stalking you in private spaces while the government maintains aerial surveillance. These are the sex offenders that are going to be prosecuted accordingly. It is the P.O.C. Those are, again, those third parties. While you hear the Ontario Airport Board being prosecuted, this is budget. And that is, again, license plate. Gang stalk with the Ontario International Airport. That is license plate 03366W3. This is facilitation, massive facilitation. Hundreds of people are stalking and monitoring and the facilitation of that criminal conduct by budget and by these employees and by the City of Ontario. And this is all for the criminal prosecution of Mike LORENZ. These demons that I just showed you, I took an image of them walking toward me. These are demons that are pacing and now they're walking back after the demon flies over biplanes. This is demonic activity. These are demons that are engaging in conduct while the Latino race is particularly perturbed and triggered by deportation policies that are going to deport gang stalking Latinos out of this country. This is why you're looking at the particular race. Remember, everything is detailed with regard to the pattern of conduct. So when you are documenting gang stalking Jamaicans, for example, the entity will surround you with Jamaican music. The entity will surround you with Jamaican flags or Jamaican license plates. People playing Jamaican music while they're documenting the terrorists that are from Jamaica, and they're going to be deported. This is the entity that's engaging with its gang stalking me with Latino males right now. Latino males that are very much susceptible to being deported, like every other Latino male that doesn't have to be in my presence right now. They're speaking to the threat that they are in this country. And their impunity and their mental illness. Those demons paced toward me, and then they paced right back right now while the entity flies over by planes. That's demonic pacing. That's what they do with the helicopters. That's what they do with the plane. Plane after plane after plane. They just did that in a group walking by, and then they're pacing. This is mental illness, and you're going to deport the mentally ill. That is serving the public. Okay? Again, those license plates are those demons acting with the demons that are stalking by planes. These are psychopaths that are operating commercial vehicles engaged in stalking. License 3GB573 Oklahoma. That's budget. License 03366 Windy 3. That's a white Ford, and sharing in the pattern of conduct and doing so specifically. The entity is communicating a lot to you regarding not just the pattern of conduct, but who engages in it. And what it is that I've exposed. You pay attention to what it is that I'm speaking about, what it is that I've documented, even what it is that I'm publishing on a particular day, and then pay attention to who's got gang stalking crossing path, conspicuously stalking me. You'll see Edison engaging in the pattern of conduct on a day where they know that I am likely at what is, for example, March 6th, and I'm going to come across documentation of Edison gang stalking me in 2022. Edison will, on that morning before I publish or after I publish or around the time where they're anticipating that that's going on the internet, Edison will gang stalk under the fake sun. It's all deliberate with regard to that specific environment. This is the details with which the entity is going to be mentally assessed, deported, sentenced, and prosecuted. Okay? But I want to be clear, even down to the race of those that are engaging in it. Remember, the demon-possessed are the ones that are racist. They're the ones that are racist. They're the ones that create this system of division. But you're going to use that demonically inspired weakness to identify their means of targeting, their means of speaking to concession, admission of knowledge with regard to monitoring the evidence. Okay? And it's also, again, I want to be clear, while you are communicating a threat on behalf of a culture that you want to state isn't a threat, but you're using that culture to target somebody with regard to what is a deportation policy that necessarily applies with regard to you and anybody else like you that is an immigrant that's engaging in terrorism with the City of Ontario, the Ontario Police Department, the Ontario Fire Department, the Ontario International Airport. Okay? That's the P.O.C. Those are the level of details you're going to pay attention to. Those demons literally pace by. In the spirit, these are creatures. A group of them are crossing path, walking by, and then crossing path, walking by again while the entity engages in stalking with planes. And this is how demons that are psychopaths engage in communicating hostility. Like you saw and like you listened to, Ontario Fire crosses path with the sirens, with the lights on last night, while I'm talking about what is, again, very indicting commentary and analysis. Speaking to the tactics of the Ontario police that utilize psychological torture, which is what the demon-possessed Latino males are engaging in here. They're going to be deported out of this country. Their families, their gang-stalking baby mamas, their demon-possessed kids that are engaged in the P.O.C., they don't have to be here. The entity's going to prosecute. They're going to prosecute the household. They're speaking on and investigating any and everyone that's an immigrant because they're all going to be deported. The entity's engaged when it's breaking up its own family. That's not God's fault. That's not the government's fault. It's not some wrongdoing. It is justice, and they're breaking up their own families. They're breaking up what it is, their own household, while they're engaging in terrorism. The entity's engaging in this, and they're doing so while they are speaking to and exposing to you their knowledge about what's being stated about them while they're being exposed. And they're demons. They're demons in doing that. They are demons that just so happen to be in the inside of a vessel of a person that is of Latino descent, or in African American person's body, or Asian or Caucasian. As I've shown you, all the demons of all races are equally engaged in the pattern of conduct. They're equally mentally ill. They're equally obsessed, and they're also equally criminal with regard to this P.O.C. on behalf of the government. The government can't gang stalk me using commercial planes without the people of the state remaining present in the path, without psychopathic pacing in that specific environment. Okay? The entity is doing so with regard to what is intentional presence in the path, and you're going to pay attention to these details where they're speaking to surveillance that they are engaged in. This entity stalks with the Ontario Fire Department last night, and then you heard what is reminiscent of like a gunshot. That's the entity that's engaging in what is, through their gang stalking conduct, that's audible activity, light activity, as the government is crossing paths on the roads and the highways, doing so while I'm speaking about psychological torture tactics, and then they engaged in one. But that entity is doing so while they're listening to what it is that I am documenting, what it is that I'm describing. These demons are engaging in that. They're pacing by walking by at the Ontario Town Square. Let's go look at where we're going to build the Christmas tree right now. Those are demons, they're critters. They're a pack of cockroaches that cross path right now. The entity flies over by plane, audible activity, and then that pack of cockroaches goes right back to the truck where they're engaged in what is monitoring right now. They're monitoring. That's the focal point. And it doesn't matter what you construct. It doesn't matter what uniform you're wearing. It doesn't matter what your facial expression appears as. The entity is engaged in what is understanding and proven through all the facts, engaging in the same exact system. And the entity is going to be prosecuted for that. And prosecution does include what is just a deportation policy. And you can claim about the fact that you are in some sort of position where now your baby mama is going to have to raise your kids by yourself because you're an immigrant and you got to go, and you are going to go, and no one's going to cry for you. They broke up their own families. Understand that. They're the ones that are responsible for what's happening to them while they're engaging in it. And the entity is doing that while you're listening to them gang stalking. The city of Ontario is the one that's engaging in what is criminal monitoring at the same time as they are engaging in what is the provision of services to the city that's gang stalking with the people of the state. Okay, that's the entity. I want to be clear. Budget companies like Budget that are actually hostile to American citizens. They're hostile to the laws. They're hostile to your enforcement of your rights. They're hostile to you. The entity that's stalking by planes right now is doing so while demons are maintaining position right here behind me, engaging in the P.O.C. while those demons are in front, stalking in the path. So what you're hearing, the entity is engaged in what is stalking. This is the entity that's engaged in, again, focusing on a facial expression, focusing on they keep their back to you. They're building up a Christmas tree while they're maintaining light activity, audible activity, and psychopathic pacing. Okay, this is the P.O.C. and this is underway by Budget. And it's massive facilitation. Wells Fargo, Mule Cart Smokehouse, the 280 North Limit Apartments, the Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments. They're in the parking garage monitoring while these demons are pacing, creating light activity, and stalking with planes. Okay, and this is what the city of Ontario is doing at the entrance of the OVITT with the orange truck. That's exactly what they're doing while the demon goes to the OVITT Family Community Library to return a book. Psychopathic pacing. I have to go cross path and return that book, and I have to cross path again to get back to the car. That's what Budget is doing. I'm going to go over here. We're going to survey where we're going to put the tree, and then we're going to walk back to the truck. They're pacing while the entity is maintaining plane activity over me. That plane activity not moving. As I don't move. This is where the plane activity stays. And no plane activity is happening if Atif El-Kadi were not a gang stalker, or not a gang stalker that's engaged in surveillance using the means of an airport. If Alan D. Wapner were not a gang stalker using the means of an airport. If what is Southwest Airlines and the Ontario International Airport altogether were not a gang stalker using the means of an airport. Okay? Those are demons that are now pacing with noise. The light activity is maintaining on the vehicles with those license plates that I already said. This is P.O.C. Okay? So the entity is gang stalking. I want to be clear. The same entity that is gang stalking in the path, capturing what are, again, a concentration regarding Latino males. This is the entity that's engaging in what is gang stalking and doing so while they're listening to policies that are going to uniformly apply. You're going to remove all of the immigrants in the state of California that are posing a threat to American citizens, including while companies use those particular actors while they're particularly hostile about a deportation policy that's going to apply, and they're proving that it is necessarily going to apply. Necessarily. Okay? Not that Satan doesn't get a vote, but all you're doing is walking in conformity to the very reason why that policy is there. The entity is engaging in the P.O.C. and the way in which they engage in it is deliberate. They are doing so with real-time knowledge about every detail about them. You want to prove and demonstrate that a Latino, it's not based on race, but while you want to exhibit the fact that you're not a threat, that you're not a terrorist, but yet you're using those particular actors, and it's directly relevant to the pattern of conduct that I'm speaking to, those being subject to deportation. The Latino race is not the only one that's vulnerable to deportation, by the way. They're not. They're not the only ones, but I want to be clear. They are engaging in the P.O.C, the gang stalker that's at what is Wells Fargo, speaking with the Ontario police that are stalking right now with budget, with the city of Ontario using planes. That was a Latino speaking as the state, obsessed with me and hostile and embarrassed and failed at what was supposed to be it was supposed to be funny, but it was actually very disturbing. There was nothing funny. There's nothing funny about being a stalker. There's nothing gangster about it. While he's engaged in what is gang stalking with the Ontario police at the Wells Fargo, okay? That was a Latino male. This demon that's gang stalking last night, referring to what is my appearance while you're stalking, that was a Latino male. These are demons that are subject to and are exposing their families and everyone that they're connected to, the businesses that they're associated with, all the means whereby the federal government is going to do a thorough investigation. You're talking about deportation of any and everybody. The entity is fully exposed to that. This is the entity that's doing so. That was a Latino male last night speaking as a state, and you have a group of Latino males that are using what is budget, engaging in the P.O.C. It's directly relevant to that deportation policy that applies, and it may not apply to you. You may be born here, but your baby mama might not be. Your wife, your mother, your grandmama, all of them may not be, and those are the ones that are getting shipped out of here, and you've broken up your own home. Don't blame the government and claim that the government is unjust and unfair because you're a terrorist. That's what happens. Don't call God evil because of what is judgment that's coming upon you. Sins of your father and your father's father. That's what happens. It's not God's fault. And it is also not unjust for the federal government to deport terrorists out of this country. And they're looking for sympathy on the internet where they're monitoring as well. Putting propaganda before your face to condition your mind. You're looking at the lawlessness that they're practicing right now. This is what's being deported out of this country. They're the ones that are responsible for breaking up their homes. That's their fault. These are decisions that they made when they thought that they were going to get away with targeting American citizens. They can surround with as many Latinos as they want. The non-speaking, non-Americans that are engaging in terrorism, non-U.S. born Americans that are engaged in terrorism, you're getting shipped out of here, okay? They're doing a commercial for the deportation by the federal government of all the Latino race that are engaging in domestic terrorism. That's what they're doing. They're engaged in gang stalking surrounding with the Latino race. They're speaking to the fact that they're engaged, in fact, in terrorism, that they are a threat to the public, even though this is not criminal conduct that's based on race. The entity's utilizing race while they're listening to federal policies that are going to surround that race and any other race that's engaging in terrorism where you are not a natural-born citizen. That's what they're engaging in. It is always to their own demise. Always to their own demise. The entities engaging in that which is bearing harmful with regard to the optics, that makes you look bad. That makes you're supposed to be representing some culture. You would probably do better to represent your culture not being a terrorist. You would do better to not exhibit mental illness with regard to that culture. But that's what they're doing. And they go to the extensive resort to using all manner of a business. This is money, time, and resources, and gang stalking me. This is how pathetic also the demon-possessed are. Doing what is building the annually constructed Christmas tree is not any form. They do it under the fake sun. They do it in what is the engineered light. This is the same property. It's the same P.O.C. It's the same exact P.O.C. And the entity engaged in what is a grand departure from that when the fake sun was over me at 1801 East G Street. And it was still there upon my checkout at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct and they're mentally ill. They're pacing back and forth, stalking me. And they particularly chose to represent the Latino race in doing that. The Latino race is going to be deported out of this country while they are demonstrating and proving to you the fact that they are a threat and they exhibit impunity while they're engaging in that criminal pattern of conduct. And engaging in more terrorism is not going to cause them to be able to stay in this country. They're going to be deported, just like any other terrorist that is not a natural-born citizen. Okay? It's one of the easiest ways, the immediate ways to remove this country and relieve it of the threat that immigrants pose in the U.S. Immigrants that are making up companies that are engaging in this, facilitating governments that are practicing this, they're going to be removed out of this country, making it harder for the government to utilize terrorists that are not natural-born citizens that derive pleasure because they're mentally ill, and they're going to be outside of this country, them and their family. Okay, wherever it is that they came back, and they can go around over there pacing like cockroaches, stalking with the government there that doesn't have a constitution. That's where you can go do that. This is P.O.C. That's budget and a bunch of cowards looking to the left and right while they're listening to me speak the truth, and their reaction to it is while they're gang stalking. That's the mental illness of the demon-possessed. P.O.C. Okay? Budget is gang stalking with the same actors on an ongoing basis. Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, OVITT Family Community Library, 280 North Lemon Apartments, Wells Fargo at 240 North Euclid Avenue. Okay? The Metro 102 apartments, the Ontario Airport, the Ontario Police, the Ontario Fire, they're already built. This is the prosecution of the government that's acting with the people. Everywhere that they live, where they work, and as they travel. They're maintaining surveillance, and it's all centered on me, the one that's also telling them what's about to happen to them. And while they engage in more of that, which is speaking to what's going to happen to you, they are speaking to, revealing to you what it is that they already know, what they're hostile about. And by the way, spouting out a bunch of insults while you're stalking me, you're still stalking me. Okay, you're stalking me. I'm not stalking your baby mama. I'm not concerned with her. She's obsessed with my vagina, actually. She's obsessed with my bodily fluids, which is never going to help her be anything like me. All right? This is, again, mental illness, the demon-possessed that are gang stalking. That's what's relevant behind the budget, the company budget. That's what's relevant with regard to what is the gang stalking population that's hostile to that pattern of conduct, listening to an imp speak on behalf of a whole bunch of demons that are immigrants in this country. You can be as hostile as you want. You're going to be hostile outside of this country. You can be as mad as you want. You're going to be mad outside of this country. It's not changing the facts. This is what the entity doesn't seem to understand, and that's because they are psychopaths. Okay? And they lost control a long time ago. They lost control. P.O.C. It is currently, like I stated, 7:38 a.m. at the Ontario Town Square, where the entity is stalking as a population. All right? They engage in what is stalking with light activity up and down Euclid Avenue, which is where the plain activity remains. This is where the entity is stalking by how. This is, again, not only are you using common sense with regard to what the entity is doing, this is where the pattern of conduct, even in silence, meaning me not remember. This is, you were just here stalking last night. You already know by common sense that the P.O.C. is underway. But even deeper than that, this is where the pattern of conduct is in this specific environment. I don't have to say a word as you are looking at the elements of monitoring. All right, you know what demons are doing by what it is, their pattern of conduct. Their pattern of conduct is their behavior, which is speaking volumes. You don't have to say a word. But common sense is, this is the same Ontario Town Square. Fake sun rising and setting. Yeah, they're stalking. And it's all about me. And it's all about what they're doing centered around me. Okay, she's here now. We're going to engage in what is putting up the Christmas tree as a guise of stalking her. The one that we're obsessed with. The one that we're mad at because she's talking about deporting us. And that's exactly why they're being deported. That's exactly why. Because they are stalking. They are stalking while they're wearing hard hats. They're stalking while they're taking pictures and posting it with regard to the city. They're stalking while they're employees of the city. They're stalking. Well, whatever they call themselves doing, they are stalking. All right? They're the same Nephilim. The Nephilim doesn't have a race. These are demon-possessed people, and you are learning that it is all colors of the rainbow, and it's equal opportunity for federal prosecution as well. They're going to get equal treatment under the federal law. Under all laws, local, state, and federal laws are going to be designed to target terrorists like what the population of demons operating these budget vehicles represent. Okay? That's P.O.C. And there is no change. The entities engage in this. This is the City of Ontario at the Ontario Town Square, engaging in the exact same pattern of conduct and surrounding with what is light activity. You can replace it with Leonida Builders Incorporated. You can replace it with Brightview. It's the same P.O.C. Okay? It is currently 7:40 a.m. at 224 North Euclid Avenue. The entity was stalking me as I'm walking away from the Ontario Town Square by plane, while I'm documenting a psychopath that's stalking with light. That's what budget is doing using these vehicles. They're stalking with light. It's P.O.C. It is 7:41 a.m. Again, these license plates that are engaging in criminal facilitation of the government, that's going to be in federal court, and answering to what are the system that is in operation that is being exposed, and it's serving for putting a lot of people in prison for what is exposed as terrorism. That is, again, license plate of budget 3B7536, that's Oklahoma, and 03366 Windy 3. And also, these demons are operating another Oklahoma plate, 3GB573. They are engaged in what is light activity, relevant positioning. They're pacing back and forth. They're monitoring with the people of the state. They're facilitating the people of the state to engage in ongoing monitoring, and they're stalking in doing so. The company is stalking. The government is stalking. They're doing so cooperatively while they're engaging in that with those that are, again, under the age of majority. This is what this gang stalking family has been engaged in plenty of times. This is the entity that's engaging in what is the P.O.C. Those over and under the age of majority, you're looking at the combination of the gang stalking family unit, utilizing activity creators, which are those under the age of majority. Securitas is back here in the background, gang stalking, just like he is every other day. Budget is just here engaging in the same pattern of conduct, using the businesses that are engaging in what is demonic activity, which is criminal monitoring. Okay, this is P.O.C. This is Securitas that is gang stalking as well. I'm taking pictures of it while I'm speaking to it, because you can literally look at my evidence while I describe it. And it's currently 7:42 a.m. As I'm maintaining that ongoing visual evidence and audible evidence. That's all of the pattern of conduct where the entity is monitoring as well. You need that component. So I'm showing you what you're hearing, they're monitoring. What you're looking at, they're monitoring. The environment that it's happening in is pursuant to what is monitoring. And they're so psychotic, they have to have a whole fake environment to maintain a population gang stalking. This is why the fake sun is setting in alignment to me inside of the OVITT Family Community Library, where I'm here after 5 p.m. That's never the natural environment. That's the pattern of conduct that Budget is engaging in. They're centering the P.O.C. around building up a Christmas tree at the Ontario Town Square, a very heavily documented gang stalker. This is P.O.C. This is serving for what is the federal policy regarding deportation of immigrants that are in this country. The entity is doing so with regard to demonstrating their unworthiness to remain in this country. The entity is doing so, remember, not just what they're doing, but the way in which they do it and the moment that they do it. You are exposing all of that while you pay attention to who they are focusing on, who they're stalking, and it's me and everything that I'm exposing. They expose themselves while they engage in, and that's been for years. They could, they're not going to though, but they could switch that up now. The reason why I am speaking on it now, because they've been doing it for so long, you'll readily identify that pattern. You'll readily identify it. Okay, so you can look at what it is that I'm publishing online, what it is that I'm discussing, and you'll see the entity engage in what is replicating that. And even when I don't speak a word about it, and none of that is a coincidence, because it's happening under the fake sun. These are demons that are engaging in surveillance, and Satan is always engaging in what is admitting to what they are doing. This is the entity that's very unintelligent, and now they've been surrounded by virtue, providence of their unintelligence. And a whole bunch of unintelligent minions does not make one intelligent actor. That does not make any formidable adversary whatsoever. They're all unintelligent, and all together they have been overwhelmed with the evidence of them all together in an unintelligent fashion targeting. All of it is evidence of targeting. You're always coming back to that same legal conclusion of targeting. And you're targeting in furtherance of murder. Businesses spending millions of dollars on targeting. Okay, this is the P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, like I stated, 7:45 a.m. at 224 North Euclid Avenue. Budget's engaged in maintaining light activity at the Ontario Town Square. This is what the Ontario Town Square is systematically engaged in. This is the City of Ontario that's engaged in surveillance through the population. Okay, they're engaging in the elements of monitoring, and they're all stalkers in doing so, and they're stalkers that utilize particular actors regarding whatever it is that they are perturbed by. Oh, you don't like that you're being deported, including while you use immigrants to gang stalk me the next morning. This is the entity that's engaging in what is the inevitable demise and implosion of its system. Okay, this is inferiority at its finest. Inferiority at its finest. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, what you will see uploaded to the Google Drive regarding gang violence, that Budget, and that the gang stalking third parties that are suspected are liable to. The entire population is vulnerable to deportation. Any gang stalkers that are engaging in the pattern of conduct with the City of Ontario, utilizing the commercial means of targeting by Budget, they're going to be deported. Okay, and what you're looking at uploaded to the Google Drive is the ongoing gang violence that that Budget is engaged in. That this is a company that's going to be prosecuted for state surveillance and conspiracy to murder, while its gang stalking employees are using the guise of that business to maliciously facilitate the government's pattern of conduct, the government that is stalking with them and by them while they are in the specific environment, which is the Ontario Town Square at 224 North Euclid Avenue. while I capture what is the images of criminal presence, the entity is engaging in what is stalking by plane, and that's what I captured. The entity is present in the path. The appearance of the focus, meaning there is no excuse under the law to be engaged in criminal presence. The entity is engaged in criminal presence by constructing a Christmas tree while the government is stalking by commercial planes. So this is what is captured in screenshots. And this is the same property that is shown to have the fake sun from sunrise until sunset. That is also how you know that these are gang stalkers, because the entity has the fake sun, as I'm documenting yesterday, from 7:39 a.m. until after 5:11 p.m. And the entity is covering up the fake sun, which is no deviation from what is already on the record about demons stalking under a fake sun and using the malicious business practices of companies like Budget that are engaged in state surveillance. Doing so through those that are immigrants with regard to particular communication of hostility and hatred for this country and for law and order, where terrorists are going to be deported. That's what's represented by the non-English speaking gang stalkers that are doing so through the company Budget, gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport over the Ontario Town Square. These timestamps, okay, the entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct is doing so as I am capturing what you already listened to, which is on video, the Ontario International Airport gang stalking with the City of Ontario using the orange truck. That license plate that I'm documenting, you could see the demons gang stalking. Look, no hands. They both rest their arms under their chin while they're leaning on the truck. While the entity is stalking with planes, they are stalking with light. In the same way that I'm documenting days earlier, where the entity has the fake sun over me, and that same iteration of the pattern of conduct by the City of Ontario, engaging in what is construction as the guise of amplified audible activity under a fake sun that's over the OVITT Family Community Library, where Dylan was gang stalking under the fake sun at 4 p.m. yesterday. That's where the City of Ontario, using the orange truck, the pickup truck, while they're engaging in that P.O.C. It's the same pattern of conduct, and doing so with license 57812 Frank 2. The entity is doing so while covering up the fake sun, which is getting to, I think, nothing other than malice. They're just malicious ignoramuses that are already surrounded with evidence, and they like to gang stalk with immigrants who are going to be subject to massive deportation. The entity is doing so, however, with regard to the video that you listened to. And that video is speaking to what is captured at 7:12 a.m. at the OVITT Family Community Library in concert with the Ontario International Airport, targeting by virtue of carrying that plane activity. No planes that are taking off outside of what is the Terminals 2 and Terminal 4 is going to create any sort of, first of all, so that's getting to the intention behind the audible noise that's being documented while demons are engaging what is presence in the path. And you don't have to speak to them, know them. You don't have to communicate, look at them in the same way that the demons are doing so, and they don't have to speak to you, know you, look at you while they're gang stalking you, and they are doing so not as strangers. They know exactly who you are. That's why I'm capturing a fake sun over me while they're engaged in that same set of facts regarding the elements of monitoring, demons that are targeting you in the shoes of the state. Where the government is stalking with an airport, that is the plane activity that's hovering over 215 East C Street in Ontario, California, the Civic Center area, where the entity is engaged in what is stalking in the path, maintaining methods of light activity. That's what the people of the state, those license plates that I recited in that video that you listened to already, are sharing in, while the City of Ontario is being documented engaging in that, both by the airport that can be heard with plane activity, audible noise, stalking in the path. To be heard, you're stalking. To be heard, you're engaging in what is stalking with audible activity. You're monitoring as a demon. There is also a set of laws that are going to prosecute the terrorists that are stalking in planes, but also the stalkers that are in planes stalking with those that are on the ground. And that's what the City of Ontario is doing with this orange pickup truck at 215 East C Street. Covering up the fake sun is no deviation from that same pattern of conduct. In fact, the demons are exhibiting severe mental illness while they're targeting in a way that is entirely exposed, showing how a malicious pattern of conduct designed to target one person, a bully system where bullies are acting in furtherance of murdering that person, that they're not getting away with anything, and it's also not intelligent. But the demons are doing so with the Ontario Airport. That's what's captured at 7:12 a.m. This is what Budget is doing so with these demons that are maintaining light activity. They're parking their vehicles along the Euclid Avenue, keeping their hazard lights on while they're engaging what you hear, audible activity, while the demons are maintaining serial flight over the Ontario Town Square. This is what I'm capturing at what is in screenshot after screenshot. The screenshot is recognizing the timestamp of what is present, and the entity is at the same time stalking with the airport. So that's what's reflected on the drive. And these are the times that the entity is engaged in when it's stalking by psychopathic pacing by that Ontario International Airport. Demons that are using their airline companies to keep me under surveillance in furtherance of murdering me. These are corrupt companies that are engaging in that sacrifice of American citizens that they are stalking using planes to do so. And they're doing so while they are keeping the evidence about it under surveillance as well. And they are absurdly mentally ill as well. The mentally ill are not going to be able to get a pilot's license. The mentally ill will not be a part of law enforcement to stalk using helicopters. The mentally ill will not be able to expose the public to threats by driving public transportation, driving school buses, endangering children, including children in criminal conduct, things like public transportation and where lives of American citizens are at risk, such as demons that are operating planes and then crashing them and then maintaining a congressional hearing about what went wrong. What went wrong is that a demon was in the cockpit. That's what went wrong. It was a murder by this same entity that's gang stalking me, and I'm exposing them. And you're removing terrorists that are calling itself an Ontario board, a president of the airport authority, calling itself an executive team, while they're, in other words, paying themselves while they're terrorists maintaining a surveillance system. They're doing so with the immigrants that are facilitating terrorism by corrupt companies like Budget. This is speaking to companies. This is speaking to communities. This is speaking to a population of enemies of this country and of this Constitution. While they are engaging in the pattern of conduct, it is a clear communication of enemy status with the United States. This is what you need to understand. And they're literally targeting American citizens. It doesn't get any more explicit. It doesn't get any more unambiguous with regard to hatred for this country, terrorism against this country, and American citizens, okay? This is the entity, and they're the ones that are doing that. They're the ones that are choosing to demonstrate the fact that you are an enemy of this country. You want to use particular races to do that. Those are the racist demons that are listening to what's going to uniformly apply. You're being deported. You're not a natural-born citizen, and you're gang stalking. That equals federal prosecution and deportation. Mandatory, not contingent. Mandatory. You're being deported. All right. So again, I documented in real time because you can hear the plane activity, but I'm going to go ahead. This is what is being encapsulated with what you already heard. So I documented the federal offense of stalking with the airport. The airport represents the government, the city of Ontario. 723, these Latino males are engaged in psychopathic behavior. Not only are they stalking as a business, stalking as a group of males engaging in gang violence with the government, they're being psychopathic in doing. Their mental illness is a threat, in other words, to the targeted individual. That crazy people are stalking you is a threat to you while you are enforcing your rights against the government. Their mental illness is exhibited while the reality of the environment that is tailored, designed, and conducive to monitoring you is your demonstration of mental illness while you're a pacing demon. And that's what they're doing at 7:23 a.m. The entity is at 7:21 a.m. walking toward where they are right now constructing the Christmas tree. This is the entity that's crossing path as a group of demons. The entity amplifies plane activity flying over the center of Ontario Town Square at 7:21 a.m. They are at 7:23 and 6 seconds after that plane activity is amplified and that demon flies over in a plane. They are pacing back toward the vehicles that are parked along Euclid Avenue where they're maintaining peculiarized light, flashing of light. Very demonic, very mentally ill behavior. They are engaged in monitoring and stalking, conspicuous stalking in doing so. And that's what's captured. You'll see the screenshot and you'll see an image of what is already captured. The Ontario International Airport is a stalker. So they're engaged in terrorism with the people of the state. Budget is here participating in that criminal system, and they're doing so in furtherance as a company that's conspiring murder and as employees of a corrupt company conspiring murder, gang stalk with a bunch of demons that are pacing around and engaging in surveillance like they are every day. Okay? This is 7:21 a.m., 7:23 a.m. The entity doing so, as I'm documenting, also the entity that's engaging in that P.O.C. at 8:01 a.m. While the entity is putting up the bases for this large tree that they're building. They're putting up these black bases, which you'll see. The entity is stalking in the path while they are maintaining a criminal means of presence. This is an entity that, again, it's not your facial expression. You can look however you want. You can be a fool and speak crazy if you want to, but it's going to come back and haunt you in federal court. And everybody else that's gang stalking with you, including demons like Mike Lorenz, whose fault it is for this public corruption by a population and that ongoing harassment that you're subject to by a population while the gang members are calling themselves a police department. They're gang stalking with those gang members. It's going to come back and haunt everybody. It's going to be in the courtroom. It's going to be in your case. Okay, the entity is engaging in this P.O.C. while the entity is flying over by planes, while they're bending down, putting up the base for the Christmas tree that they're building, while they're stalking in the path, pacing, stalking with light activity, and maintaining presence while the entity is just having a field day flight over the Ontario Town Square with commercial planes. Okay, that's at 8:01 a.m. That's the picture of malice. Okay, and they're doing it particularly by those that are non-English speaking gang stalkers. This is particularly relevant with regard to, remember, this isn't personal to me. These are demons. And I'm speaking to what are laws that already exist. Terrorists have been subject to deportation. So you want to gang stalk me, and it's very specific because they're doing it pursuant to surveillance in a specific environment. And that's including when they're covering up the fake sun. That's why Budget has these vehicles with their hazard lights on. All right, this is why the government is stalking here with commercial planes. So you are using what are and simultaneously proving the fact that you need to be deported while you want to use specific races because the entity is the one that is afflicted with this demon of racism, while you want to use particular races that are engaging in criminal activity for which they will be deported. And you're doing that because you're keeping the evidence against you under surveillance, and you think that it's a good idea to further concede and admit that you're keeping the federal prosecutor under surveillance by gang stalking with immigrants. And that's not a coincidence in this specific environment. This is the entity that's always to its own demise, showing how unintelligent it is and why it never should have targeted me in the first place. But this is the entity that's showing itself to be the very threat that they are to this country. Okay, it's not anything less than that ongoing threat by the entity that's conspiring your murder. They do so with immigrants every day. The serial killers that are not natural-born citizens, you will be happily deported out of this country. It will be a celebration the day that you are relieving this country of the threat that you are. While they want to come here and gang stalk and do so while they are monitoring the evidence of what is going to be deportation, it's not going to change. You're going to be deported by gang stalking, and you're not a natural-born citizen, period. Period. The entity engages in tactics, and you're paying attention to all those tactics. It's like the entity that's kidnapping you by the Ontario police. They are intentionally engaging in what is criminal summoning, a traffic stop of the demons who are the people of the state in the first place. So you already know this is P.O.C. You're pulling over the people of the state who are stalking with you. Nonetheless, you're doing so while a demon that's already stolen your vehicle, that gang stalker that engaged in sexual assault and battery, lied and said that you harassed somebody. That's the demon that's engaging in the traffic stop with the people of the state under the fake sun. Though that's how the entity that is targeting you while they are engaging in the P.O.C. Speaking to knowledge about what it is that you've documented about them, and a psychopath engages in targeting you again because they don't have any self-control. While they don't have that self-control, it's your ability to recognize ongoing targeting. And I'm using that for prosecutorial purposes. It is 8:33 a.m. This is P.O.C. You'll see these images reflecting criminal concerted activity with the City of Ontario stalking with commercial planes. That'll be uploaded, and it's captured by screenshots. Okay, just want to be clear, that's Brightview gang stalking like they are every other day. Budget's not helping, budget's not overshadowing, budget's not distracting from what is the pattern of conduct that Brightview, again, gang stalking underway by a company that's facilitating terrorism. Terrorism is recognized and defined as what is this targeting system by the government, including those that are immigrants in this country, meaning you immigrated to the United States and you're engaging in what is a state targeting system, organized crime, in furtherance of murder. You're doing that while you're hiring the gang stalkers to engage in landscaping. So I just want to be clear, Brightview is gang stalking with Budget. Those are the commercial means. Brightview and Budget are engaged in hiring immigrants. That's deportation policy applying. And they're doing so in the same exact specific environment with the Ontario International Airport. Okay, that's Budget's engagement in the audible activity. Pacing around with a a leaf blower is crossing path. Criminal presence under all circumstances, facilitating the government that needs you around me in order to keep me under surveillance. They're being deported. P.O.C. Okay, Brightview is gang stalking, and so is Securitas. These are the companies that are engaging in it. The 280 North Limit Apartments, they're gang stalking systematically through these corrupt adult day healthcare companies. They're coming in gang stalking with the people of the state that are way over the age of majority. And they are elderly demons that are gang stalking the same. And these ADHC companies come sharing in criminal surveillance, picking up old people and gang stalking and doing so. That federal case is going to follow with regard to that company that's identified identified engaging in the P.O.C. I documented that very routinely at Alvarado Gardens, for example, so you're aware of how that iteration goes. It's the elements of monitoring. I mean, you're talking about understanding the malicious company tactics. That's what you're paying attention to when you're going to prosecute commercial stalking, as I've referred to it. License 6BNU400, and Brightview is gang stalking. Their license number that is at stake is 266211, and the license plate for Brightview, that's gang stalking, just going around, pacing around with that leaf blower, monitoring with regard to with the entity, the leaf blower, the plane activity. This is audible activity while they're all stalking in the path. These are demons engaging in surveillance on the roads and the highways. These are the demons that are just pacing around the Ontario town square. It's pathetic while they're all stalking me together, but this is a threat to American citizens whose life is at stake when they're stalking you like this, and they're mentally ill. License 54392V1. Stalking. 8EZS 556, and when the fake sun is shining, they're stalking with impossible light, molesting your body. That's a psychopath, that's a demon, and that's a stalker. Okay, so is everybody in this apartment building where they're gang stalking at the 280 North Limit Apartments. So is everybody inside of Metro 102. So is everybody inside of the Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments. So is everybody on the roads and the highways. Okay, and this is where the entity is gang stalking using commercial planes. Brightview's license plate again, 54392V1. The license that is at stake, you do not have any sort of licensure to engage in landscaping in any state in these United States where you are engaging in state surveillance and conspiring the murder, which is what companies are doing, through their employees, and they're facilitating it. And when you are engaged in hiring immigrants, you are therefore facilitating terrorism amongst immigrants as well. Okay, these businesses, you're going to be prosecuted accordingly. So brace yourself. It's license number again, 266211, license 6JPT993. This is P.O.C. These are the demons that are monitoring that leaf blower. That's audible activity. Demons pacing around the C Street Turkle. These are psychopaths. Okay, the serial stalker, the African American male, very much engaged in mentally ill behavior. But there are those that appear more psychopathic, meaning the demons on them have worn them down. This one is particularly disturbed. License 6BNU400. He's gang stalking at the Ontario Town Square. He drives the red Mountaineer, I believe that is. Yeah. Systematically engaged in surveillance with the OVITT Family Community Library. Okay, systematically engaged in monitoring my vagina. Okay, and doing so through the sexual violence of the government. That's engaging what is relying on psychopaths like that, demons like that, to maintain surveillance by just sitting in the library stalking all day long. License plate 9RNA516, stalking with the OVITT Family Community Library. Remember, you're not, they're gang stalking during business hours and outside, where demons are using the book drop, just like they use the ATM at Wells Fargo, just like they use the parking lot of Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments and the Tesla car charger station as a means of stalking in the path with light activity. And that's what they're doing together while they're surrounding with what is peculiarized light. These are demons that are sharing in what is surveillance, and they share mental illness. Okay, very depraved, very disturbing, very psychopathic. And these are serial killers that give birth to babies every day, by the way, that are engaged in sexual violence while engaging in criminal conduct, targeting an American citizen. This is the reality of the demon-possessed who surround you. This is the reality of the whole illusion of normalcy presented by the Nephilim. Okay, gang stalking by OVITT Family Community Library. That's what the City of Ontario is doing with the Ontario International Airport, while a demon uses the book drop as the outer guise for what is psychopathic pacing. Getting in and out of the car while they are using a vehicle. That's a method of light activity. And at nightfall, that's that light activity that's molesting your person. They're far away from you. And they are molesting you with light. It's creating magnified size of your shadow, multiple shadows. It's coexisting with the government following you around with planes and helicopters. And it's coexisting while I'm going to return my book drop. I need to go return my book drop at 11 o'clock at night. I need to go return my book right now at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And you can use the book drop with regard to, that's not necessarily, in other words, probative evidence regarding the time that they are returning a book, but they're doing it while they're stalking in the path with engineered light and in the environment where the fake sun is rising and setting. All they're doing is being a psychopath, stalking someone in a manner that everybody sees. It's not a secret. These demons do not read. They're in there stalking and monitoring me. Every move that I make, you're not reading a book. You're not even focused on your job. They're gang stalking under a fake sun that's setting in alignment to the entrance of that light. This is the absurdity of the demon-possessed and their gang stalking system. Okay, but that's the entity that is using, and that's the prosecution of OVITT Family Community Library. Gang stalking at the gas station, gang stalking with the bank, gang stalking with the car charger station, gang stalking with landscapers. This is the entity that's maintaining a means of ceaseless surveillance by presence in the path, where you're not supposed to associate stalking with what is supposed to be occurring at that environment. Oh, you're supposed to be using the ATM, and that's not these are demons that are delusional. And they are also very demented because you are stalking, and you're stalking in that type of manner. That's very demented. This is going to be the entity that will be diagnosed and prosecuted with regard to what is actual mental illness that they are all sharing while they're targeting with the government. This is 8:45 a.m. That license plate you heard is pursuant to the ongoing monitoring by Brightview and Budgie gang stalking with immigrants today. This is relevant to the immigrants in this country that are letting you know what you need to understand in California, that they despise this country and they despise the law. So does the government that gang stalks me while I prosecute them. Remember, my evidence shows that the entity targets me more when I expose the gang stalking immigrants. That's also speaking to the posture that they hold, the attitude, the sentiments that they have toward the law, toward not violating you and your rights, your enforcement of your rights, and about the laws that serve to deport them for criminal activity. This is the entity that's engaging in conduct that it would not like to be subject to, but yet it's doing it to other people. Okay? Because they certainly don't like to be appropriately and accurately assessed with regard to their behavior, but they like to lie on other people's character. Gang stalking someone will never be the basis to falsely depict anybody's character, because that's what it is. This is gang stalking. And gang stalking proves and shows and is evidence of mental illness of that entity. And you can see it by a population of psychopaths who are stalking together. This is P.O.C. It's currently 8:46 a.m. Wells Fargo is gang stalking. The entity is engaged in this P.O.C. Let me go ahead and read their license plates. They are pacing the entity, the loud traffic with regard to how damning, how embarrassing, how triggered they are about what I'm stating. This is the entity that is focused on me. It's very pathetic. License 5YSM066. It's very pathetic, but this is the entity that's engaging in that conduct based on the fact that they're stalking, and they are still stalking. And I want to be clear, before this is in court, before I am in court, and the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, the federal judge that's going to handle it, they're sitting back watching. They know exactly what's going on while they're watching this entity be exposed. Stalking. And nobody's confused about what they're looking at. License EH41T03 paper, 9FMD502, 9SQR222. License 6UJM519, 6YVB934, 6NMN639. That's Wells Fargo that is gang stalking. This is P.O.C. It is currently, again, 8:40. What's the time? It is 8:48 a.m. at the Ontario Town Square, P.O.C. All right, the demons that are gang stalking, I want to be clear. I am documenting this entity that's engaged in the P.O.C. stalking amongst what is a population that is sharing in the pattern of conduct, going out of their way to maintain a means of stalking. So, in other words, let me document what I mean by that. While I'm at the Ontario Town Square and I move positions from remaining at the wall of the Ontario Town Square, the large wall that has the art on it right in front of the clock, where you'll see a lot of me, my documentation as of 2025, because I've documented the P.O.C. at the Ontario Town Square, remaining at the amphitheater location, and that's where you will see the entity in a different position with the fake sun and maintaining its stalking by planes. They're not flying over the center of the property while I'm at the amphitheater location. They're remaining on the south side of my person. You'll pay attention because all of this evidence is provided for a study. You're looking at the big picture while the demons are steady stalking me from place to place, and they're forced to maintain stalking under the circumstances that I create because they're following me. And I'm the leader, and they're going into federal cages, okay? But the entity is engaged in stalking, and there's a history of stalking at this square in this specific environment where you're looking at what is also identified as an inconsistent environment. License 7NOD621, gang stalking at Wells Fargo. The entity is engaged in what is stalking as I am relocating, so I'm gonna take a picture of where I'm at. That's signified by my property. and my property is speaking to where I am physically located, and my property is the black bag that's adjacent to the bench. So the demons are engaged in what is maintaining a means of of stalking in the path. That is a demon that positions a communication device to be in relevant position to me. Okay, the entity is engaged in what is this means of presence in the path. Going to get your cell phone is a means of crossing path to get to that communication device, which is a means of surveillance. Remember, all the demons, they represent communication devices. You are also leaving your communication device in the path of the target individual, and then you're pacing back and forth to it. This is where they are. This is how you're following me around at the square. Okay, while I have moved from where the wall is, and these demons are engaged in monitoring wall. These are psychopaths, and they are also legally relevant of, or likely to be, or may be of what is immigrant status. So the entity is engaged in what is stalking with audible activity, meaning while you're building the Christmas tree and you're using your power screwdriver, the demons are monitoring with regard to the use of that power screwdriver, meaning you're using your screwdriver, it starts sounding with regard to monitoring my physical movements. That's another demonstration of them being mentally ill. That's what they're doing when they are exhibiting mental illness, by pacing back and forth. They're walking over toward my location, crossing path, then they're walking back over while the entity is stalking with planes. That's psychopathic pacing, the outward demonstration of mental illness. These demons and everything that they are doing is centered around me. This is just underscored when they do it under the fake sun. It's not different when the demons have covered up a fake sun in the first place. But I just want to be clear. Budget is engaged in what is gang stalking. They're doing so amongst psychopaths that are using everything that they're engaging in. All the noise that they're creating is pursuant to monitoring my physical movements. And this is how you're recognizing the presence of the spirit of Satan that is using people in order to engage in stalking. Because under the law, while you're monitoring, you're stalking. Okay? The government is monitoring, the government is stalking. The government is doing so with the people of the state that it requires, it needs to be around you, stalking you and doing so. Your legal status is one of a stalker, and that's how you're going to be prosecuted. That's literally what they're doing. They are stalking in ways in which you're not supposed to be able to recognize, first of all, because they have some sense of belonging, which doesn't exist where the government is monitoring. You don't belong anywhere. You're engaged in criminal stalking everywhere. They're monitoring everywhere. And they're absolute psychopaths. Bat poo crazy. Wanting to insult you with their speech while they're obsessing over you. Every move that you make. And everything that they're doing is speaking the truth of that. And everything in the environment is speaking the truth of that. Okay? That's P.O.C. Okay, that's the ongoing terrorism that Budget is engaging in, and Budget is facilitating. That's a malicious guise of criminal activity by a corrupt business. All right, license plate 8SAL922. Hold on, let me get this again. License, that is 8SAL922. That is indeed the correct license plate. Stalking at Wells Fargo at 240 North Euclid Avenue. Everybody inside of Wells Fargo is gang stalking. Wells Fargo is gang stalking 24 hours a day, while the ATM is a means of criminal presence in the path. The book drop at OVITT Family Community Library is a means of criminal presence in the path, stalking with the government that maintains all manner of surveillance while the demons are engaging in what is using the ATM, using the book drop. Let's go drop off a book at 12 o'clock in the morning, or let's just go drive in the parking lot of the OVITT Family Community Library while they are stalking with light, doing so while the entity, like I documented at 11:03 last night, stalking, flying over, doing a dip with a large commercial plane, hovering over this square while the demons are stalking at C Street and Lemon. That was actually C Street and Euclid, and then crossing path at the C Street. They were acting together. That was an ambush. Those are demons who are stalking. They're monitoring. That's the significance of the mental illness that you're identifying through their conduct with this light, this stalking with light conduct. They're going to be diagnosed. The entity is going to build literally more facilities in order to confine the mentally ill who are, as you are witnessing, they are present by the millions. It's a population of them, and they are a threat to the public. As they are stalking with amplified noise, which you hear, that's what's going to be locked up in facilities throughout this country. As they're stalking with light, as my evidence shows, they're going to be locked up in facilities throughout this country. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in what is the evidence regarding what you need to be aware of, that mental illness is a threat to the public amongst the demon-possessed that are engaged in the criminal system of federal group stalking monitoring. This is gang stalking. Okay, P.O.C. License plate, gang stalking. with Budget. Budget made itself a part of the pattern of conduct. Budget's engaged in facilitation. All these demons are gang stalking with Budget, the company. It's going to be prosecuted. This third party includes license 8YUH513 with Wells Fargo at 240 North Euclid Avenue. This third party, license 8SAL922, likely a gang stalking employee. That's relevant to what is systematic targeting. Wells Fargo is on the record for years of surveillance. That's relevant to the prosecution of that establishment and everyone associated with that establishment with regard to the body of evidence proving that Wells Fargo is engaged in gang stalking and furtherance of murder as a corrupt banking institution. P.O.C. It is 9:05 a.m. All right, 9:17 a.m. This is Brightview gang stalking with Budget. Doing so, stalking by planes is inspired by the criminal activity that Budget is engaged in. While its corporate headquarters is being documented, Brightview is engaging in terrorism. Coming in close quarters, crossing paths with me with a leaf blower in hand is a prop in its audible activity and stalking in the path and its mental illness. He walks by me while the entity flies over with plane. He's gang stalking with third party 5XEE179. He's gang stalking with Wells Fargo. He's gang stalking with these demons of Budget, whose criminal activity is underway by a company that's also being documented. While the fake sun you see, oh, it's there right beside the clock where they're engaging in the pattern of conduct. The entity has the fake sun at 9:18 a.m. That's the same exact time over the Ontario Airport Inn at 1801 East G Street. That is not going to show what is the sun subdued, shining under any circumstances over this clock at the Ontario Town Square. This is where demons, you'll see them on images, they're pacing, they're under a fake sun. This is very demonic, what they're engaging in, and a company is going to be prosecuted for this demonic conduct. It's facilitating what are ritualistic means of stalking you before you're murdered. Companies are sharing in murder. This is what gang stalking airlines are committing. Murder. The entity is engaging what is stalking you with regard to gang stalking you while I am documenting the corporate headquarters of Budget. So let me give you on the podcast what it is that I'm capturing on my phone while Budget targets me in furtherance of murder and psychological torture while they are monitoring what it is that I'm documenting about them on my device, which is specific with regard to the presence of the fake sun at 9:18 a.m., the crossing path by 4XNP929 under that supernatural and intentionally maintained environment, and the demon that crosses path with a leaf blower representing gang stalking by Brightview as I'm on my device capturing what is evidence that the demons are hostile to. And so they commence to what is walking in circles. You'll see them pacing. This is demonic while they're doing so under this fake sun. This is very psychopathic behavior, and the entities doing so, they're triggered by my documenting the corporate headquarters of I.I.S Budget. That's the parent company of Budget Rental. That is a gang stalking company engaging in state surveillance. In other words, Budget is monitoring American citizens. Budget is engaged in conspiring the murder of American citizens that they are gang stalking through their employees who are also of immigrant status, and that is exposing I.I.S Budget Group with regard to a federal prosecution and what is a prosecution for facilitating terrorism, as the Department of Homeland Security would also be interested in, as you are disincentivizing and you are breaking down a system of terrorism in the U.S. Companies like Budget and companies like Brightview are directly engaging in that. Okay, I.I.S Budget Group is corporate headquarters is located at 379 Interpace Parkway in Parsippany, New Jersey, 07054. And as I'm documenting this third party, they are threatening my life and safety while the entity targets me with commercial planes, and a whole bunch of psychopaths are pacing all around me. They're monitoring. Okay, they're doing that pursuant to surveillance. And this is psychopathic behavior that's a threat to your life while they are stalking you. This is violence, and this is violence that is done in the name of the gang stalker I.I.S Budget that is engaged in the pattern of conduct through the demons who may or may not be immigrants as well, while they are targeting me at the same time that I'm documenting the corporate headquarters. So this is what you need to know about another terrorist. What is enemies of the United States? They're identified as those that are commercially engaging in the P.O.C. And it includes I.I.S Budget Group. Again, the corporate headquarters is located at 379 Interpace Parkway, Parsippany, New Jersey, 07054. And gang stalking me with demons that are stalking with Wells Fargo at 240 North Euclid Avenue. The buildup of traffic is light activity. This is what they're doing at the bus stop by buying drinks at Starbucks, and the entities, oh, I'm waiting to get my drink, I'm waiting for a parking spot. They're doing it under the fake sun. That's again 4XNP929. This is license plate. Wells Fargo is going to be prosecuted for all this. 6UJM519. Wells Fargo is gang stalking. That's why the fake sun is here after 4 p.m. where Wells Fargo remains in relevant position. Wells Fargo's business is a malicious means of gang stalking, just like Budget, and which is A.I.S Group that's engaging in that P.O.C. It is, by the way, like I stated, at the Ontario Town Square at 9:21 a.m. That's mental illness. The demons exhibit their hostility by pacing all around you. They exhibit their hostility by amplifying louder activity, targeting you with it. They exhibit hostility with molesting you, stalking, targeting you with impossible light activity. They also do so while they're monitoring you. Monitoring is that which is pursuant to the conspiracy to murder you. It is pursuant to what is violence of stalking. It is while you are exhibiting severe mental instability, illness. All of that is an unlawful threat, and it's criminal conduct that you're going to prosecute for. And it's in the name of businesses like Brightview, Wells Fargo, A.I.S, Budget, the company which is Budget Rental, A.I.S Budget Group. These are commercial means of engaging in that same pattern of conduct. The gang stalking companies are made up of the gang stalkers themselves, and you're going to prosecute those corporations. You're going to prosecute the people making up those corrupt corporations. You're going to prosecute civilly and criminally. You're going to identify commercial actors as what they are under the law. And it's also speaking to what is going to necessarily attach to that corporate commercial identifier of regarding the people that say you're going to attach to it what is the true reputation, what it is that they're engaging in. The reputation of a terrorist, the reputation of a stalker, the reputation of a sex offender. And that's going to be latched onto these commercial actors that are gang stalking through company names, like what A.I.S Group is engaging in. Okay, this is P.O.C. It is currently 9:23 a.m. where the entity has the fake sun adjacent to the clock. The entity has the fake sun hovering over the roof of the Ontario Airport Inn. Look at the video uploaded to YouTube. Uploaded to my website. This is the P.O.C.wordpress.com. Listen to the video that I'm documenting, that I published and I included it on the podcast at 9:18 a.m. It's over 1801 East G Street, and it never left from being over 1801 East G Street. That's why I stepped out into the same parking lot, facing the same direction, and that fake sun is on the west side of the same hotel building where I am remaining, being kept under surveillance, which is what A.I.S Group, A.I.S Budget is engaging in at Ontario Town Square under that fake sun. Okay, the fake sun shining, the fake sun subdued, it equals a fake sun. Covering up the fake sun, as I showed, it's the same P.O.C. And they're mentally ill while they engage in what is pacing all around. These are angry demons. They start pacing in circles. I took a picture of it. You'll see it. It's mental illness. They're stalking. P.O.C. Stalking with impossible light activities, a psychopath that walks right into third-party facilitating venue Wells Fargo, touching with impossible light, and they're triggered by what you need to look at. Science that's going to put Mike LORENZ, Derek Williams in federal prison, Alan D. WAPNER in federal prison, Tracy Banks and Jason Fields in federal prison, license 8VHN034 triggered, and the demon being triggered is the fact that they are stalking and impossible light is touching your person while they're doing something that has nothing to do with any sort of light activity, and it's also not an anomaly nor a coincidence while that pattern of conduct is coexisting with a fake sun that's over me as I'm capturing a screenshot at the same time being over 1801 East G Street, the Ontario Airport Inn, where the entity was maintaining stalking by planes over that fake sun that was over the hotel that never left that hotel building as I went back outside and diligently documented at 5:11 p.m. on video. And you can see that also on YouTube and on my website at thisisthepoc.wordpress.com, and you can listen to it on the podcast captured on November 1st, 2025. AVHN034 is a female. She walks inside of the rear entrance of the Wells Fargo at 240 North Euclid Avenue, gang stalking with Wells Fargo and doing so. While I document this screenshot of demons that are representing A.I.S Group, I'm prosecuting Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is under a fake sun, and Wells Fargo is in relevant position, criminal stalking by an establishment, and they're engaged in surveillance as a business that is filled with demons that are targeting maliciously and unintelligently in that environment that defies science. Okay, they are stalking and molesting with impossible light while I capture that damning screenshot, which is the prosecution of the government, and license 9CTV102 is engaging in a P.O.C. of stalking by being under that fake sun, i.e. mental illness is thereby exposed, and the intentional conduct by a government government through a population is thereby underway and facilitated as a pattern, not a coincidence, serving a deliberate system where science is being shown to be the way in which you're going to prosecute a corrupt government. Because all you're going to get out of the mouths of mendacious demons is silence and literally delusional behavior. And that's why they're going to be diagnosed. The demons don't need to say anything. You get a day in court. No matter how psychotic you are, you get a day in court. You don't have a defense, though. And you're not avoiding that prosecution. And I'm going to prosecute the business. I'm going to prosecute the demons making up that business. I'm going to prosecute the government. I'm going to prosecute the demons making up that government. I'm going to prosecute literally through the corrupt means whereby they're facilitating the system, the corrupt laws that are existing. The laws that are being abused by the corrupt government in order to facilitate and enable this system that is being literally deconstructed, okay? It's being broken down. But the entity is engaging in this, and that's a molestation that Wells Fargo is committing, that I.I.S group is committing, that Ontario Town Square, that's the city of Ontario, that they're committing. They're doing so while they are engaging in that pattern of conduct together. It is currently, by the way, 9:33 a.m. The entity kept the fake sun over Ontario Airport in, and the entity is just engaging, again, plain, meaning obvious, ongoing, demonic, criminal activity, okay? Where the entity is engaging what is building up this is where you're getting to understanding the mentally ill. This is what they were doing while they were pacing toward the clock. The demon flies over with commercial plane, then they pace, going back as a group, back toward their vehicles with the flashing of light. The entity has the fake sun. They're walking in a circle. That's the same psychopathic. They're pacing. This is the reality of what demons are doing. It's demonic activity. The demon possessed, the Nephilim, want to appear normal like you, an upright human being that's walking on your legs, not pacing in the spirit, okay? Not a psychopath that's stalking somebody and doesn't want that to be identified, so they'll stalk you where they work, they'll stalk you as they travel, they'll stalk you where you live or where they live, stalk you as a society so that they're maintaining presence around you all the time in every capacity, but they want to appear as that, and they don't in the specific environment, not at all. And it's showing how absurdly psychotic they are, they being the demon possessed. Okay, license plate 7ZTR090. Okay, this is P.O.C. The entity engaging when it's stalking with the fake sun is the evidence where the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct of stalking with light. Brightview is engaging in that. I.I.S group is engaging in that. A population of demons that are engaging in stalking at the Ontario Town Square. That's what they're all doing under the fake sun. And they can come with camcorders. They can come engaging in dancing at the Ontario Town Square. They can come engaging in what is holding a food festival. They can come engaging in what is holding a meeting for the gang stalker Paul Leon. They can maintain a picnic. They can engage in what is holding a Q&A regarding what are some suggestions about how we can make the city of Ontario more effective for the benefit of the public. How can we better? So they're gang stalking under the fake sun, and the purpose is actually that environment that supersedes everything that the Nephilim are not speaking of. And that's also showing that they don't have to speak of it. It's there. It's there. And that's also speaking to the fact that they're psychopaths. They're not even concerned with their own lives. They're engaging in surveillance, stalking one person together. Absurdly psychotic. It's not both. The sun is not hanging over the edge of 1801 East G Street, Ontario Airport Inn, which isn't even in the direction of the Ontario Town Square. And also sitting lower in elevation than the clock that's at the Ontario Town Square. And this fake sun, just like at the Ontario Airport Inn, does not leave this Ontario Town Square. In fact, it's remaining over me as I walk east to the OVITT Family Community Library at 10 a.m., where Taylor, that's gang stalking under this fake sun at 8 o'clock in the morning with the Ontario Police Department by helicopter, the Ontario Airport by planes, and engaging in surveillance after 5 p.m., where she is still on the job, stalking all day long with the government, engaging in surveillance and collecting a paycheck. She's doing so while the entity has this fake sun in what will be the same position while it's in alignment to my face as I'm sitting down in a chair inside of the depths of that building. And I'm capturing a fake sun, meaning it didn't go anywhere, meaning it's still over me. I'm still looking at it at the same address 8 hours from now, but also hanging over the west side of the Ontario Airport Inn. That's the entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct, okay? Those are the demons that are not walking around. They're not driving. They're pacing. Okay, pacing just like you see in the helicopter flying in circles over and over. That's a demon that's pacing by themselves. They're doing so as a group. So the demon that's maintaining that ongoing presence over and over again, where one person is pacing, repeating that presence, going back and forth, they're accomplishing that as one demon after another, one demon behind the other one. That they're pacing. All they're doing is stalking. and they're mentally ill. 4XNP929 is on surveillance cameras, engaging in a transaction, which is criminal conduct, pursuant to the prosecution of Wells Fargo, which is a gang-stalking banking institution that's monitoring you. Your money, your transactions, all your what should be private under federal and state laws, it's public. Amongst demons that are violating your privacy, and also with regard to the system that is speaking to the absolute absence of any privacy that you have. They know how much money you're taking out the bank while they're gang stalking, while they're monitoring this ongoing surveillance system. You don't have any privacy at the bank. And Wells Fargo's gang stalking is what lets you know about that. Okay? Them being under the fake sun, that's what lets you know about that, by the way. All right? The entity gang stalking me outside of Wells Fargo, that's what lets you know about that, by the way. And my having been a patron of Wells Fargo and they're monitoring me is what lets you know that, by the way. Okay, this is relevant to all the ways in which the entity is exposed for violating laws. I expose that as a property manager. Private identifying information. This is existing federal law under HUD regulations. Federal law. They are violating the privacy of American citizens who are also gang stalking. So they have conceded that. But nonetheless, it's actionable. And you're going to prosecute the government that's violating those very laws while they're gang stalking me as a property manager at Alvarado Gardens. And they're gang stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments. You're doing so pursuant to what is ongoing surveillance. There is no privacy of any personal information of the demons that are coming in and providing their social security numbers, their addresses, their banking numbers, their passports, their visas, their means of providing proof of income. All that's public information, while LAPD is stalking, just like you hear the Ontario International Airport, under the fake sun, where they were targeting me and monitoring my vagina inside of that hotel room. The entity that's triggered is always engaging in what is the provision of evidence. It's not a distraction. It's a perfect segue into what LAPD is doing. That's the same entity. Violate this hypocrisy and speaking to the corruption of this government system. They just have the laws to give you the illusion, to, in other words, to make you feel like you have privacy and that we're different from the rest of the country, and we're not. We're under surveillance through demons in other countries, keeping us under surveillance. Knowing all about your information, knowing about all the government assistance that you receive, knowing about the fraud that you've been committing, okay? They are engaging in what is playing cops and robbers when they're talking about some case that's been solved regarding a white-collar crime that they discovered they've been investigating. They are engaging in it with them. This is a system of surveillance. They conduct what are so-called investigations with regard to not wanting to let you know that they're keeping everybody under surveillance, and it's known what you're doing. The entities engaging in what is violating HUD rules, that's the prosecution of Speaker Companies Incorporated. I'm going to prosecute them with regard to the violation of my privacy, with regard to keeping me under surveillance in my apartment, where I am both the employee and the resident. And they're doing so with LAPD that's stalking under the fake sun, by the way, at the same time when it's remaining over me in 2024, outside and inside of daylight savings time. The entity has the fake sun over me. This is not going to be like, it's not over 1801 East G Street, the Ontario Airport Inn. It's also not over my apartment. It's not going to be seen through my living room window. This is the environment where LAPD is stalking with helicopters and LAX is stalking with commercial planes. Well, that fake sun is honed in on me at my apartment where I work and downstairs at my office, at my apartment where I live and downstairs at my office where I work, where this entity is then also abusing the laws as they exist to then falsely depict your character and claim that you are gravely disabled and that's why you can't take care of yourself, and that's why they should be able to steal your property pursuant to a system of surveillance where gang stalking judges are relying on that perjurious and malicious testimony where they're gang stalking you as well. And they don't even have a right to hold any court hearing about your property and about you because they're keeping you under surveillance. You don't have jurisdiction of authority under the law, under the Constitution, when you're engaged in surveillance. And you also don't when you're withholding the very evidence that you're trying to steal through gang stalking. And you're gang stalking in that courtroom. I want you to know I don't have to be there. I didn't need to be there. The Lord God saw it, and I've been out here handling your case the whole time. You're going to prison. As surely as these IDOTs, these idiots, are stalking in commercial planes under a fake sun. That's not at the same time over Alvarado Gardens and over 1801 East G Street and remaining until the end of the day where Taylor is inside at the OVITT Family Community Library, gang stalking on the job on behalf of the state in furtherance of murder. That's where they also engage in criminal summoning. That's federal prison, in case you didn't get that. This is the very P.O.C. that they're engaging in and talk about, oh, she's yelling in the bathroom. These demons go in the bathroom monitoring me yelling. And nobody's calling the police then. The police are already monitoring, by the way. You're a psychopath. You're going to be mentally diagnosed with the malicious audible activity coming out of your faces. You're going to be locked up in facilities throughout the country. This is what's coming. And you're also going to federal prison for targeting and furtherance of murder. This is what's coming. And they're simultaneously violating laws concerning how banks are supposed to be operating when they're engaged in surveillance that they're not telling you about. And I'm proving that the entity is stalking me by helicopter at Chase Bank under the fake sun. At what point at 1 o'clock in the afternoon is the sun remaining over 1600 Vermont in Los Angeles at the Chase Bank, where the fake sun is over my vehicle en route to that bank, over me at that bank? LAPD is gang stalking me by helicopter, pacing over that bank, and then I'm driving back to Alvarado Gardens, the fake sun until the entire time. This is what the entity is engaging in, and they're violating banking laws, your privacy rights, and the illusion regarding your dollar amount in that bank account is not private. License 6JQB845. Gang stalking, Wells Fargo. Okay? The entities engaged in that at Wells Fargo, those demons are inside of that building listening to me document them right now. That's the reality of what's happening. And they're also listening to their prosecution, because that's what's actually happening. You want to watch so bad? You want to stalk so hard? You think you have this setup power? No, you don't. You've been set up, and I'm prosecuting, and you're witnessing that happen. License 8VHN034 is the demon that walks in, accosting me with impossible light while that demon is monitoring the very damning screenshot that all of you can look at. The fake sun at 9:19 a.m. over the edge of the hotel building. 1801 East G Street, Ontario Airport Inn, where I documented at 9:18 on video. I documented at 10:10 on video. I documented at 5:11 p.m. The unmoving. It did not move from being over that Ontario Airport Hotel, the building in particular where I'm located. So how is it over the Ontario Town Square right now? And it's not even higher in elevation than the clock at the Ontario Town Square. Those are the demons, those are the unintelligent that are violating HUD rules. They're violating housing provisions. They're violating banking laws while they're engaging in surveillance. All of this is exposed. It's also exposing a prostitution ring. It's also exposing pedophilia, trafficking children. It's exposing all of the above while the entity is engaged in gang stalking me. And this is what happens when you violate what the Lord God has said. You should have left me alone. Now everybody's getting prosecuted and everybody's being exposed. Every business in the state of California is engaged in surveillance, by the way. And all the relevant laws that govern how these companies are supposed to operate with regard to what are your rights that are inherently violated because of the public that's engaging in what is surveillance, meaning it's public information. You go to the doctor, you have privacy rights. Oh, there's laws such as HIPAA, by the way, not just the fact that they are violating my my rights to privacy and injecting information that's not even true about my medical history. Okay, but they're also violating HIPAA when you're subject to monitoring in the doctor's office, when you're subject to monitoring gang stalking inside of that hospital, when they're engaged in what is sexual assault and battery, 7MBT512, that's gang stalking you with that doctor that you're talking to inside of that medical office. That's all public information. They're monitoring. That's a violation of your HIPAA rights as well. This is all being exposed while the entity is engaged in gang stalking me, the one that they should have left alone. And because they didn't, this is, amongst many other things, the consequences, and that they're going to suffer, including being locked up in facilities for mental illness that they are demonstrating that they have, as opposed to being a gang member and just making it up like what the entity does. That's also why, that's literally also the evidence which is going to serve their being confined in mental institutions, because you are absurdly out of your mind to engage in this level. All of this money and resources and all of these people together, in addition to doing so in a manner that's inexplicable. Why would you be so invested? Because you're sick? Why would you engage in that level of targeting somebody in a way that you are that you surmise that nobody would be able to identify? Because you're sick, meaning you don't know that you can't. Well, you are assuming that no one's going to ever know that you're stalking while you go to the ATM, when actually what you're doing is engaging in stalking that is readily identifiable, that the feds know all about, and you are providing a paper trail, evidence, proof that you're there, which the entity doesn't need. But with regard to prosecuting you in court with facts and inevitable evidence under the law, your PIN number, your presence on that surveillance camera, my documentation, getting your license plate, your image, I'm going to prosecute you, and you're going to be identified as a terrorist. You're going to be prosecuted based on the facts. If you did it with the Ontario police, you're going to prison. Whatever it is that you engaged in when I documented you. This is the entity that's doing so under a whole fake sun. That fake sun is engaging what is remaining over me. That's what I'm documenting. And Taylor and Mickey and John and Alan and Alex that are inside of the OVITT Family Community Library, all of those demons, Starla, all of them keeping my vagina under surveillance, doing so with the demons that just go inside of that venue where the fake sun remains all day long. That's what I'm documenting at the Ontario Airport Inn. That's what I'm documenting at the Ontario Town Square. This is exposing the gang stalking mayor, Paul Leon. He's in the same civic center. He's listening to every syllable. This is the prosecution of a government that's engaging in what is surveillance of American citizens, violating your privacy rights under the Constitution as it exists right now. This is P.O.C. And that's what you run the risk of being exposed when you want to stalk somebody with impossible light activity. Everybody's having the whistle blown, and the laws that apply that are simultaneously being violated while you're engaging in surveillance. And by the way, nobody is questioning what everyone is seeing. You're talking about what is everyone is mentally ill when the entity seeks to defame by the evidence of the P.O.C. The evidence of the P.O.C. is exposing what is the relevance of science. Who is mentally ill but the demons? You're delusional. This is evidence that is scientifically relevant. Something that you could never think of on your own. License 98CT519. Defamation is the tactic of demons that are envious, and they're also obsessed. They're inferior, and they are the stalker. Okay, this is why you have a whole population of them, and they engage in what is defamation, and it's not even for. Oh, clearly, you see, you can't insult me. Everybody knows that you're obsessed with my vagina. First of all, you can't insult me. You're a sex offender and you're stalking. Let alone you're engaging in the pattern of conduct, and this is the evidence that is speaking to the way in which you can prosecute the government at by any and all means. Meaning they can never get away with what they've been doing for decades as a corrupt government. There is nothing that is under any circumstances bearing poorly on the target individual's character. 9NJP729. By virtue of this evidence or by virtue of following pursuant to the precedent that this is establishing, prosecuting public corruption. Okay, but this is simultaneously exposing all the industries, all of the areas of law that are being violated while the entity is engaged in criminal surveillance. It's P.O.C. It's 9:49 a.m. The entity is maintaining the fake sun over the on November 1st, where I'm remaining at Ontario Airport Inn, and you're mindful of what is the fake sun that's over me while I'm facing the courtyard, and the Ontario Airport is crossing paths as though they're taking off. Remember what's in front of the courtyard. It's G Street. 6DJU906 is G Street. The G Street that runs east and south. The 10 freeway is behind that hotel. The fake sun is over me at 7:39 a.m. adjacent to that 10 freeway while I'm facing that direction. The fake sun 3 hours later over that courtyard, which I capture on video, impossible light reaching under a covered structure inside of that lobby area of that hotel building where I'm at. The fake sun is still there at 5:11 p.m. as I go back to that parking lot. This is where the entity is engaging in what is maintaining plane activity, where the airport is actually north of Ontario Airport Inn. So you're engaged in what is stalking. You fly north to get close to what would be G Street to feign a takeoff, rising in elevation. What is Southwest Airlines doing on Holt Boulevard then? What are they doing with Griffith Construction when I'm walking on Euclid, when they're acting like they're taking off there? What are they doing when they are much more west at the Stater Brothers parking lot, acting like Amazon Prime Air is taking off right there? Because you're hearing the loud plane activity. What are they doing there? This is the asininity. It's as asinine as the fake sun. These are idiots who are being humiliated, and humiliation does not change the fact that you're being documented for terrorism, stalking, and you're hollering out what are insults. You cannot insult me when you're stalking me. You're even monitoring as you hurl out insults while you're stalking me. You're stalking me where I'm sleeping outside. And I'm going to enforce my rights with regard to being outside. You're going to find yourself outside. But I'm going to leave that right there. But the entity's engaged in gang stalking me. You're following me around while I'm outside. That's how obsessed you are with me. You want to listen to me breathing. You're listening to my heartbeat. Okay, you're sitting around monitoring every step that I take and hurling out insults while you're stalking a psychopath under a fake sun, NS585 handicap. Okay, their handicap status is actually relevant to what is their demon possession, their mental illness. That's why they're handicapped. Not with regard to how DMV has categorized them as that way, with regard to some sort of superficial means of being physically handicapped in one way or another. They are mentally handicapped. That's a demon, that's a psychopath that's engaged in criminal conduct, conspicuous stalking. Very, very demented behavior. Outwardly demonstrating the fact that you are handicapped, mentally handicapped, psychologically handicapped. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:52 a.m. I just want to point that out. Banking laws and housing laws under state and federal law are in violation with regard to this entity that's engaged in surveillance, and J.P. Morgan is not ignorant about that, okay? These large banking institutions, they're not ignorant. They're being exposed. These are the same demons that are engaging in what is selling you products, making a lot of money off of you. Guess what? They're monitoring you. And what the attitude of these demons, remember, this is one entity. They don't care anything about you. They want your money. They want you to buy it. They want you to be a consumer and shut your face. These are demons that despise you, and they are monitoring you. They're keeping you under surveillance, and they are also targeting you. They're murdering you. They're kidnapping you. They're framing you while they're selling to you. Okay, while they're governing over you. Those are the demons that are gang stalking. 5KPB083. This is P.O.C. It's currently 9:53 a.m.
Alrighty, this is P.O.C. That's the entity that's stalking, flying over the square. The entity is keeping the fakes on over, again, November 1st, where Budget, A.I.S Group, is gang stalking, headquartered in Parsippany, New Jersey. Gang stalking, remaining present in that environment, pacing around, doing so while the elements are monitoring. This fake son is still in alignment with the OVITT Family Community Library after 5 p.m., targeting me there as well, while a population goes inside while the entity is maintaining. Remember my video at 1801 East G Street? This is 224 North Euclid Avenue. The fake son is over that entrance of that lobby at that hotel. And I'm reminding you about what is over the entrance while the demons are going inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. Gang stalking by a place of employment, gang stalking as a airport, gang stalking as a third-party innkeeper, gang stalking as a corrupt business, gang stalking as a corrupt banking institution. That's the gang stalking by the demons that are in the parking lot. 8ZYA363 is engaged in surveillance. They're driving an engineer light under a fake sun that's over me, not the natural environment, while it's over me, while I'm at the Ontario Airport Inn, where the entity is engaged in surveillance using commercial planes, using commercial vehicles and utility vehicles of the entity. That's Sunbelt gang stalking. That's a demon engaged in what is a commercial vehicle, as you're going to break down this criminal system. This is 1001, and you'll also see the fake suns on the opposite side of this clock as I walk. That's seconds later, very rapid movement, but yet 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 hours later, it hasn't gone anywhere, while it's in alignment with these doors where Dylan is gang stalking under the fake sun at 4 p.m. yesterday, where Amazon Prime is gang stalking, while this fake sign, where is it? It's right here while I'm at this entrance yesterday at 4 p.m. This is where the airport is stalking. This is where gang stalkers are engaging in the P.O.C. She's engaged in surveillance, gets in her car, goes on the rest of her day. This is the entity that's going to be prosecuted by businesses, going to be prosecuted as the government, it's going to be prosecuted as a population. These are sex offenders sharing in that together as one. And as I go to the Ontario Airport Inn, it is underscoring what it is that I'm capturing on a daily basis. Criminal surveillance under a fake sun that's remaining directly over the targeted individual, who is clearly distinct from all of the rest. As she walks over there, that fake sun's not moving in sync with her. She's not maintaining the same angle. We're all not looking at the sun in the same manner 3 hours ahead of us in Florida. This is the entity that's exposing itself while it's engaging in what is all manner of audible activity, everything coming out of their face. That's the entity speaking. That's the government that's stalking you, conspiring your murder, and also harassing you and threatening you, engaging in what is kidnapping you, stalking you in planes and helicopters. You're going to prosecute and diagnose. This is that certifiable conduct of gang stalking amongst the demon possessed. This is P.O.C. It is 10:02 a.m. and what is over me here is not over 1801 East G Street. All right, P.O.C. All right, the gang stalker that is at the Ontario Town Square, she's monitoring with the Ontario Police. This is criminal presence in the path. That is stalking. Amazon Prime Air is doing so at 4 p.m. where this fake sun is still in alignment to me at this venue right here. And the third party, one of many, gang stalking with OVITT Family Community Library, with the airport. When they go into the bathroom, they're also monitoring my vagina. Homosexual predators, 9TLW227. That's the entity that's stalking on behalf of that government. That's what's inside of the bathroom stalls. Stalking on behalf of sex offenders of both male and female genders. Mental illness, 6ZLG540, stalking under a fake sun. Stalking using planes. Stalking as a whole means of your business. That's a pattern of conduct. P.O.C. It is 10:02 a.m.
Cardenas, which I believe is a Mexican market. They're engaging in what is targeting. The fake sun is over the venue. Everybody inside of the grocery store is stalking. And this is the state that's engaging in that, doing so amongst a population that is fully vulnerable to deportation. And inside of this store that is keeping me under surveillance through all the demons inside of it, proven through the presence of the fake sun over me. I documented the entity stalking by commercial airline plane hovering over Cardenas. I documented the fake sun stalking with regard to surveillance that I just documented coming from the library. Cardenas is already on the record engaging in state surveillance, and I'm being molested with impossible light again occurring. You'll see the doorway that a demon is crossing path in. That's a demon that's engaged in psychopathic pacing while they come in and out of that entrance, and impossible light is shooting through, just like at the laundry room at the Ontario Airport Inn, where you're stalking me by using the laundry machine next to me, while you're stalking me by going from the vending machine to the trash can, when your objective is just to be stalking me. This is what Cardenas is engaging in, and Cardenas is stalking the establishment while the fake sun is over that venue, doing so while the entity is stalking with airplanes en route to this location. Then the entity will have the fake sun go in the west direction along the same street, stalking with the city of Ontario, maintaining aerial surveillance and demons that are stalking on the roads and the highways. This is a sex offense at 10:48 a.m. that Cardenas is being prosecuted for. I want to be clear, the federal government has the they already do that. They'll go to like places where they commit raids. This is what you're seeing, the propaganda on the internet right now, while they're scrutinizing Mr. Trump's administration regarding his deportation policy. And I want to be clear, Cardenas is fully exposed to having the stores raided in California, engaging in what is the pattern of conduct as I'm documenting it, ongoing confirmation of what the P.O.C. already establishes as the case, and the entity's doing so while I'm inside, and I am being kept under surveillance, and Cardenas, the establishment, and everybody inside of that establishment, many of whom's license plate are on the record. They're sharing in that terrorism that I'm documenting, and I will be publishing their license plates. That is their identity, engaging in terrorism with the government in the U.S., with specific knowledge of who I am. That fake sun is evidence that they're not strangers and that they're all stalking with the government. That maintain plane activity, I documented that. Snap-on, Stereo City, FedEx. The entities stalking with the City of Ontario using the dumpster trucks and the City of Ontario Airport. Now they're deviating, flying over Holt instead of the Ontario Town Square. Okay? This is the entity that's doing so while that fake sun moves, and it is not over the OVITT Family Community Library, nor is it over the Ontario Airport Inn Hotel. Neither of them is the evidence of the natural environment, and that is right there the evidence of criminal surveillance amongst demons who are targeting my body with impossible light. This is sex offense and terrorism. All right, in furtherance of what is murder. It is currently 10:51 a.m. This is P.O.C. at Cardenas. You know the address here? I know it's adjacent to what is Church's Chicken at 700 West Hope Boulevard. Tracy Banks is gang stalking me at that venue, which is adjacent. This is the documentation of Cardenas while I'm documenting a facilitating venue adjacent to it. This is documentation of Cardenas while I'm at the Ontario Airport Inn, and the next day, the entity has a fake sun over me at Cardenas. This is a documentation of Cardenas while I'm remaining in the city of Ontario subject to the P.O.C. Cardenas is engaging in the P.O.C. That's why I can come to Cardenas and be subject to that P.O.C. Like I stated, it's currently 10:51 a.m. And I will document, and I'll refer you also to when I'm here at 7 in the evening, in the sunset time. It's like 6, it's between 5 to 7, where Tracy Banks is gang stalking me, and I'm at Cardenas and what is also the, here we go, also the Church's Chicken. This is the same parking lot. It's the same location. And it's at 10:52 a.m., okay? This is P.O.C. This is the entity that's mentally ill. These are the entity that are gang stalking with corrupt businesses like Budget. This is the entity that's gang stalking with corrupt businesses like Brightview. This is the population that are engaging in that pattern of conduct. While you document it, then they engage in more of it. The entity stalking with impossible light again at 10:51 a.m. They're going to be deported, and this is, again, speaking to what is directly regarding propaganda, and the entity is engaged in what is being subject to deportation, and these are not terrorists that you're going to feel sorry for when they're deported. That's what's relevant. You're being fed propaganda regarding what is the necessity of deporting immigrants out of the country. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently 10:53 a.m.
It is currently, by the way, 10:56 a.m. This is ongoing terrorism that I'm subject to inside of the Cardenas markets. The entity is targeting me with impossible light activity. This is designed to psychologically torture while sexually violating your person. Doing so with the knowledge that they're being documented, doing because they are being documented and they're aware of it. They are also mentally ill and they exhibit that. They are overtly exposing their mental illness to you while they target you, while they are acting in furtherance of that criminal conspiracy to murder you. And this is all state action. Cardenas is not a private company, it's a third party. And everybody in here, those that are immigrants, this is the entity that's fully exposed to the government, operating in its full power, having full authority to raid every Cardenas in the state of California with regard to gang stalking and ongoing terrorism, as I'm subject to. The entity engaging in audible activity, doesn't matter what language you're speaking, while the entity is criminally stalking in the path in the specific environment. The entity is doing so while then going to the extent to target me with impossible light activity, speaking to their hostility toward American citizens who are enforcing their rights against those who are immigrants, given a privilege, a revocable privilege to be in this country, and you're hostile while I am exercising what is actually my right to be present and free of terrorism by immigrants, by those of any race, by any person inside of this country operating with the government engaged in the P.O.C. This is relevant to deportation because of the country that we're in, and also with regard to the ongoing combination of cultures that this country has. So you're talking about what is already relevant regarding deportation when you are in, what are the ethnic communities where they're speaking and engaging, what is feeding to the communities of different heritages. So this is again the entity that's engaging what is gang stalking. That's immediately that's how you're identifying the pattern of conduct, and it's legally significant, and you need to pay attention just like you're paying attention and identifying the suspect's physical appearance, what the stalker is doing and saying. You are also analyzing what is their legal status. If they are in fact immigrants, you are going to be deported. I'm being targeted inside of a venue that is catering to what is at the immigration population as well, and it's directly relevant that they're gang stalking while speaking a foreign language with this audible activity and targeting me with impossible light. At that, P.O.C. It's 10:58 a.m. It's 11:30 a.m. That's the Ontario Fire Department and the Ontario Town Square homes. While the entity is stalking in commercial planes that you would not hear if they were taking off at 1801 East G Street like they were under the fake sun, while I'm in that courtyard and that fake sun at 10:11 a.m. It's 11:30 a.m. and the fake sun is moving in the direction west in the same way that it was in the direction east as I was crossing path by the demons of the Ontario Fire Department, the demons of the Ontario City Hall, and the demons of the Ontario International Airport, maintaining plane activity with regard to the streets that I'm taking in the direction that I'm going. Doing so while you hear that plane activity, that's impossible audible activity, but for targeting by that airport. This is the Ontario Fire that is gang stalking. License 5994OG2. Ontario Town Square Townhomes is gang stalking. You'll see the fake sun as I'm capturing an image of it over that apartment complex. That is not remaining over the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library, where demons are pacing inside of that library, monitoring me, centering their psychopathic pattern of conduct around what I'm doing at the computer station number 1. All right, that's P.O.C. 9SDK960 is a co-conspirator of murder with the City of Ontario, stalking in the shoes of the government. None of them are private citizens, and none of them are subject or exempt from deportation, where they're engaging in this citywide criminal system as an immigrant. Under any circumstances, this is P.O.C. Fake sun following to and from Cardenas. And this is what I want to point out to in the evening. This was during summer. Tracy Banks is gang stalking me at the Church's Chicken, where the Cardenas is located, 700 West Hope Boulevard. She's gang stalking me while I am in her presence with the people of the state under the fake sun that is much more. Remember, that's how you're identifying. Daylight savings time is serving an illusion. It has nothing to do with what is the maintenance of a stationary fake sun. That's evidence of a stationary fake sun where I'm under surveillance by Church's Chicken in Cardenas, which is the state's pattern of conduct, where that fake sun is over me in the evening. This is after 6 p.m. You're juxtaposing that with what I just documented at 11 o'clock in the morning, where Church's Chicken, Cardenas, Griffith,
Demons that are gang stalking by abusing a license that you're granted in order to engage in construction that is not to be used, and it's not going to be permitted to be used for gang stalking and furtherance of conspiracy to murder. That's not why you apply for these license, for that licensure, and that's not what you will use it for. And this is Griffith Company again gang stalking me, doing so while I'm inside of the Cardenas, where a lot of immigrants are fully exposed and vulnerable, and Griffith Company is not helping them. Okay, well, while the entity's gang stalking amongst all the races, those that are in this country that are engaging in gang stalking as immigrants, they are going to be deported. This is P.O.C. It is currently 11:32 a.m. 9 PLV 994 GEO 44 handicap 9DTM 582 8FJJ011 8UWR 895. City of San Bernardino County is gang stalking inside of a county-issued vehicle, monitoring with their communication devices. License plate, fake sun over my head, license 9TYZ435, San Bernardino County. Registrar of Voters is engaged in gang stalking, and that's basically also, not basically, but both, letting you know that you don't have any privacy when you're giving your vote using communication devices around demons that are monitoring you. This is an illusion that those that you're putting into office are also participating in while you're engaging with it is the system of surveillance, and under the illusion that you have some sort of privacy some sort of privacy surrounding the vote that you cast. San Bernardino County Registrar of Voters are demons that are gang stalking. It's the same San Bernardino County. Licensed 8NJT893 7UKU452. This is P.O.C. These demons are monitoring, gang stalking, engaging in surveillance with Paul Leon. That's a demon sitting in that city hall. He's being unseated. He's being unseated. This is P.O.C. Okay, that is documentation of Myra. Myra's stalking in the bathroom. Myra is a psychopath. She's a violent sex offender, and she is obsessed with my vagina. She's a demon, and she shares criminal engagement in the pattern of conduct with this predator that enters in as the entity obsessively stalking, following with planes and helicopters, stalking with impossible light, keeping a fake sun over the location inside of the building where I'm at, coming into the bathroom to engage in activity with regard to obsessively stalking me, while also, don't forget, trying to hurl out insults while you're obsessing over my vagina, wanting to be next to me when I'm in the bathroom, stalking, because the entity's engaged in what is activity creation in the private space, not interested in what is relieving themselves. They do so with regard to gang stalking. This is the criminal conduct that Myra is engaging in also when amplified noise is underway. And Myra is a predator targeting my vagina in concert with the demons that are pacing in and out of the male restroom and pacing in and out of the employee restroom on both sides of the female restroom, where the entity is engaged in what is gang stalking. The sex offense that's inside of the bathroom in relevant position where Myra, who was captured at 10:08 a.m. on the second floor of the venue where the fake sun is remaining over me. And that is Myra's prosecution, I want to be clear, under all circumstances regarding the sex offense of federal group stalking and monitoring. She's engaging in with the demons coming into the venue, engaging in the pattern of conduct as psychopaths in the medical field. OPARC, license 9UXX805, stalking, engaging in what is gang stalking, while you have those with Down syndrome, while you have those that you're driving to engage in gang stalking me with while they're sharing in that sexual violence. This is an entity that's engaged in monitoring my vagina with Benjamin. Benjamin is the Latino male that's gang stalking at Cardenas. He's the one stalking me as the entity as we're walking to that venue. That fake sun is hovering over the top of his head while he is gang stalking me while I am walking with him to that CARDENAS, where the fake son went from the OVITT Family Community Library, where Myra is monitoring my vagina now, where the entity is filling the bathroom with the ongoing sound of impacts. This is the same impossible activity creation, such as when demons like Myra, who are monitoring my vagina in bathrooms and are stalking me where I'm sleeping, even outside, engaging what is stalking with sensational activity while they are gang stalking on the roads and the highways. So obsessed with me that the entity wants to make some sort of impact while they're monitoring. Myra's mental illness is plain with regard to stalking me in a bathroom, doing so as an entity. Myra's mental illness and her criminal engagement in gang stalking me is that which is systematic. Okay, it is 12:58 p.m. This is an entity that's entering and exiting and engineer light in that inside of this facilitating venue, which is including a private space where you're looking at that pattern of conduct. Okay, it is 12:59 p.m. Are there any, excuse me? Oh, a demon just walks in and out to monitor while the entity is maintained. They open the door and close the door. The entity is gang stalking with Securitas. Securitas is a sex offender. This is what Dylan is engaging in while he is molesting with impossible light. And this is also what he's engaging in while the entity is stalking in the bathroom. All right. The entity is engaging in the P.O.C. while you are witnessing and listening to what is crossing a path in the specific environment, stalking in the path, and doing so in bathroom stalls. This is the entity that's going to be diagnosed with regard to all of the psychopathic means of the system. It includes that which they are doing in bathrooms. And these are the ones that are going to be diagnosed, and they're going to be placed in facilities throughout the country. They are going to be separated from the population whom they are a threat to while they are engaging in this predatory conduct, including against children. All right, it's currently 12:59 p.m. All of this is activity creation and engineer light, and it is the predator that is using commercial planes and helicopters coming into the bathroom through the very demon-possessed that are entering inside of that venue for that purpose. This is P.O.C. It is 1 p.m. This is bathroom monitoring. Audible activity, relevant positioning, light activity in the bathroom, relevant to your genitalia on behalf of Michael LORENZ, Michael GERKEN, Alan D. WAPNER, the Ontario Board, and also Atif El-Kadi, the CEO of the so-called Ontario Airport, and the Ontario executive team that's engaged in what is keeping you under surveillance in the bathroom while the demons enter in to maintain the elements of monitoring and engineer life. Okay, this is P.O.C. It's 1:04 p.m. and the demon is literally engaged in that sex offense as millions of people are together keeping my genitalia under surveillance right now. This is all public information, what's going on in a bathroom. Those are the mentally ill that are stalking with light and are doing so under a fake sun, which is serving federal prison for sex offenders like Myra. Okay, this is P.O.C. That's the entity that's putting its mental illness at the outset. It's not a mystery regarding their illness and their criminal conduct and the sexual perverted nature of that pattern of conduct. Alrighty, it is again 1:04 p.m. Engaging in that on behalf of the state and what is the private space that has been violated by that entity that's engaging in what is stalking in it, monitoring in it, doing so pursuant to real-time surveillance of the evidence gathered against it while engaging in that federal offense regarding the entity maintaining its pattern of conduct and doing so pursuant to what is, you're talking about the level of violations that have not been before articulated, never before contemplated, if you will, under federal law. Okay, and that's because of the absurdity of that mentally ill behavior. It's absurdly demented and perverted. It is 1:05 p.m. This is just ongoing surveillance, just stalking in the past, shadow in the front, shadow in the back. And that's again, that is that demon that is obsessed, right? That demon that wants to hurl out insults is the demon that's obsessed with you. That demon is, again, as I'm documenting, that's the same demon that is engaged in this ongoing offense right now. And that demon is identified as what is, let's see, both stalking and harassing and obsessively stalking in places like the Russian. That would be 9TRS 934. Engaging in what is that sex offense committed as an entity, engaging in what is threatening to call the police when you are stalking, and you are stalking in the bathroom. Okay, and you are entirely focused on me. That's why when there's no conversation between me and the demon that's stalking as the entity is then making inexplicable allegations about what on the surface has nothing to do with them, and it didn't even happen in the first place. That's the entity of demons that are obsessed with my vagina. Stalking in the bathroom. That's again license 9TRS 934. Play that tape back and listen to what that sex offender that's obsessively stalking me stated. Those are the demon possessed that are gang stalking. This is P.O.C. Monitoring my vagina is inherent with regard to the sexual violence that is built into the pattern of conduct. The entities obsessively stalking, including as I go into the bathroom. They are all sitting around, engaging in what is monitoring, stalking, and keeping me under surveillance, everything that I'm doing and every move that I make inside of this bathroom. P.O.C. Alrighty, just so that you are clear, which I'm sure that you are, I've already captured this before. It's 1:13 p.m. by the way. Understanding that that is indeed the government that is going into the bathroom in order to keep genitalia under surveillance, make sure that the targeted individual is kept under surveillance, make sure that a stalker is always nearby while the entity maintains activity. This is the relevance of a whole fake sun, which I'm going to capture at what is 1:13 p.m. right now. This is the entity that has this fake sun over this same entrance at 7:55 in the morning. And this is the entity that has the fake sun over the Ontario downtown luxury apartments. Monitoring vagina is this sex offender, license 9HOB766, and the same demons of the City of Ontario gang stalking with that same Ontario International Airport. While they are sitting up with their hands on their chins, while they're stalking with light using that orange pickup truck, which is a method of light activity. This is the fake sun over 215 EC Street. The entity is keeping the fake sun on November 1st, as I'm documenting. November 12th at 12:04 p.m. At 1:01 p.m., the entity has the fake sun over me while I am 7MXE918. These are all demons that are all monitoring while the demon walks into the bathroom. This is the spirit of Satan that's inspiring this psychopathic system of surveillance, this psychopathic pattern of conduct, and it's sexually perverted. License 03081L3, that's a demon. This is gang violence regarding stalking a woman altogether, doing so while they maintain surveillance in a bathroom. A demon maintains position in that bathroom, ongoing amplified noise, 9EZD092, maintaining surveillance, and the entity does so like this at Cardenas, where the sun is never going to be over while it's remaining over the OVITT Family Community Library. This is what Dylan is monitoring my vagina to, Dylan and Securitas, 9KRV603, because this fake sun is still here 3 hours later, where he's molesting me with impossible light, where the sun is not going to still be at the same entrance 3 hours from now, nor is it when it's remaining over the Ontario downtown luxury apartments at the same time for the duration of the day, never being over the OVITT Family Community Library like the evidence shows on November 1st, 2025. However, Dylan is exposed as a sex offender conspiring my murder, and so is Securitas, while AVIS Budget Group INC and the City of Ontario are maintaining surveillance that is poly-on, keeping my vagina under surveillance while engaging in stalking in the bathroom, which is the purpose of having multiple shadows in a bathroom that is not caused by artificial light bulbs. The entity's doing so while you're coming into the bath stalls, while they're walking in and out of the bathroom. That's the pacing conduct. Those are the mentally ill. That's the certifiable conduct. The demons that are certifiable are the violent sex offenders engaging in surveillance. Train activity while driving under the fake sun is P.O.C. All right, the entity that's gang stalking using the orange pickup truck license 57812 Frank 2, the City of Ontario is engaging in surveillance and doing so under a fake sun that's over the same entrance where it was at 10 o'clock this morning. This is the pattern of conduct. The entity has the fake sun over this entrance as I walked out yesterday at 4 p.m. The entity is engaged in what is stalking, just like I documented in the bathroom, and that is exposing Myra, who was a homosexual predator monitoring another woman's vagina. She's in the library, keeping me under surveillance with the demons, stalking and pacing outside and stalking and pacing inside. And she is monitoring my vagina. She will be, again, subject to what is this prosecution for being a sex offender. In fact, this is P.O.C. She's not the only one, but this is the one that I'm documenting, and she's engaged in that sex offense together. She's working under the fake sun. That's P.O.C. It's 1:16 p.m. Son bienvenidos aquí. P.O.C. It's 1:22 p.m. Ooh. That's very interesting. Looks like we have locked in the chocolate. Sorry. Several books. Aftershock, Saving Capitalism, Beyond Outrage, Saving Capitalism, The Common Good, Aftershock. Yeah, the coming up short one. Oh wait, that's not it. The Common Good. We have the Aftershock as an audio book, Saving Capitalism, and The Common Good. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, did you want me to help you try to place a...
No, well, on that one you can. The one that I just said with Greg, if you can find something on that, coming up short, because I don't need that until December. Maybe
The book
coming up short.
coming up short. That one might be harder to get it in if we already have it on the cloud library. So that one would probably be like a no, since we have the more.
Everything's going on the cloud. So I have to listen to it.
It's not necessarily the common good one. We have it as an audio and an ebook. So we have the electronic version where you can read it on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer. Okay, that's scary.
So if I'm going to do, what do I just go on my tablet and just go on the library and just download it?
I can show you. Anybody else can show you actually how to do it, but how it is you download how to do it. This conversation is occurring in Engineer Light. I did take a picture of my hand that has 3 shadows. And this is the entity that's engaging in bathroom monitoring while simultaneously engaging in what is on the surface appearing to be the operations of a library. It's under the fake sun. Engineer Light is on the inside. This is stalking, conspicuous stalking by the entity that uses planes and helicopters to maintain surveillance and does so in concert with the people of the state. 215 East G Street. This is the entity that is mentally ill, psychopathic, malicious, also unintelligent. That's a bad combination. It makes for an epic federal prosecution. This is malice. P.O.C. These are sex offenders.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Hi. Can I have some disinfectant wipes? Sorry. Forgetting the name of them. Don't have no more?
Like one
Yeah, they
more.
were kind of like dried out too. Thank you. Oops. Alrighty, it's a room full of, on the first floor, surrounded by a room full of demons. They're all engaging in what is sitting down, seated in position in engineer light. It's a bunch of demons that are monitoring and about them is what I just documented about them monitoring. They're all engaging in surveillance together. These are all demons that know what you're doing when they don't look at you. That's what they're showing you while they're failing in having any sort of evidence that they're not engaging in the pattern of conduct, and they're also exhibiting mental illness while they do that, not only delusion, but also psychopathic, very demented. Stalking someone with your back to them is malicious. It's not innocent. It's not an exception. It is the P.O.C. and you're a psychopath gang stalking someone with your back to them. You're a psychopath gang stalking someone. You're obsessed with them, and you're also harassing them at the same time when they are seeking to enforce their rights against you. The entities engaging in what is exhibiting mental illness, while a room full of demons are engaging in what is stalking in a bathroom together, while one of those demons, one after another, enter into that private space. They're all sitting under a fake sun inside of the library. Right? They're sitting around monitoring, making sure that I am surrounded in the path. That's the actual purpose in the conversation about looking for a book by the librarian, a demon, by the patron, a demon, and engineer light. Audible activity is the purpose of their conversation while they are stalking in the path to maintain that means of activity. It is P.O.C., and they all just engaged in the sex offense together. And outside, the entity is stalking with light activity, stalking with planes and helicopters, as my genitalia is a means of public involvement by the demons that are gang stalking. Right? They're all obsessed with my genitalia. They're all obsessed with me. They're all stalking together. And that's the reality of what the Nephilim are consumed with. The fake sun sets here in alignment to me. P.O.C. License 9GSU 113. That's 9 George Sam Uncle 113. Ontario Montclair School District. Gang stalking using school buses. License 1544467. Budget. The parent company referred to as Avis Budget Group, INC. License plate 3B, as in boy, 7536. That's Oklahoma. License plate 03366 Wendy 3. Budget, license plate 3 George Berry 573, Oklahoma. 8 Sam Apple Larry 922. This is Wells Fargo at 240 North Euclid Avenue. Six Uncle Jerry Mary 519, Wells Fargo. Nine Uncle Xavier 805, O Park at the 280 North Lemon Apartments, the Ontario Town Square, the Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, Wells Fargo, OVITT Family Community Library, which is where this third party ultimately enters to engage in harassment. She is mentally ill. The pattern of conduct is underway. She is crossing path into the fake sun, specifically targeting, while in the custody of those that are mentally incapacitated, and so is she as a demon-possessed gang stalker, driving those who are in her custody to engage in the P.O.C. Stalking under the fake sun at 10:05 a.m., knowing exactly what I'm doing on my device, engaging in what is malicious and criminal conduct with those that are mentally disabled, doing so with impossible light activity,
and the malice with regard to the audible activity that she creates inside of the library where she is monitoring inside of this venue where the fake sun still remains, where she is gang stalking under it at 10:05, and it's remaining as I documented at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This is psychopathic conduct, malicious with regard to the assessment, the mental assessment of the mentally ill who are psychopathic and malicious while they're engaging in what is the conspiracy to murder, obsessively stalking as a population. And this is underway by OPARC. Gang stalking, and again, that license plate is 9 Uncle XX805. Vehicle number 167. 19620 Edward 2. Or 19620 Frank 2. It is the maroon colored Honda truck that is captured at 10:05 a.m. stalking as I enter the venue of OVITT Family Community Library where the fake sun remains at the entry. 1582613. Ontario City Hall, license 8 Nancy David Jerry 935. Ontario City Hall is located at 303 East B Street in Ontario, California. It is the same civic center, the same shared property encompassed within the OVITT Family Community Library, the 280 North Lemon Apartments. That's the City Center Senior Apartments, the Senior Center, the Ontario Town Square, the Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, the Metro 102 apartments, the Ontario Town Square apartments. The entity is maintaining the Ontario Fire Department. This is all within that civic center area surrounded by the residential areas that are facilitating venues engaging in the P.O.C. in the same exact manner that a gang stalking state facilitating venue such as the Ontario City Hall exposing a gang stalking mayor by virtue of the city engaging in the P.O.C., the local government engaging in the P.O.C., and the mayor and the Ontario City Hall itself being documented engaged in that P.O.C. Again, this is license 8CEF 557, license 8NDJ 935. This is all at the Ontario City Hall. 7 Apple Victor Robert 223. This is a serial stalker documented throughout the years, by the way, and also adjacent cities such as Upland, California, gang stalking me at the 7-Eleven in Upland, California, 240 North Euclid Avenue, stalking with impossible light. This is engaging in what is terrorizing and stalking as an entity in different facilitating venues that are cities, if you will, stalking in Ontario, and that is deliberate, where the entity keeps a fake sun over me throughout the city of Ontario from beginning to the end of the day, and doing so in Upland, California, and you are gang stalking at a facilitating venue where that light source is placed over me at that venue, going out of the city to engage in surveillance. This is license plate ONTFIRE. Somebody that is associated with the Ontario Fire Department is what you would deduce from this license plate. This is a serial stalker at the Ontario City Hall. License 9 Paul Edward Robert 703. 8 Uncle 0 Barry 336. 9 Thomas Uncle Apple 443. 8 Nancy Queen Nancy 225. 8 Sam Nancy Sam 241. 8 Paul Uncle Paul 662. 74024 George 1. 6 Uncle Edward Victor 392. Sam 0 Larry Igloo Sam, then the symbol heart, and then Mary, that spells Solis Heart M. 5 Jerry Victor Victor 442. 8 Yolanda George Nancy 956. Robert Apple Mary 0 Sam Paul, that spells Ramos P. Igloo Victor Larry 0 Victor Edward David. It spells I've loved, I believe, while being a demon, gang stalking. In the path, stalking and molesting with impossible light activity. The most unloving thing that you are able to do as a gang stalking third party. License 8 Wendy Victor Charlie 304. These people's license plates are classic, especially when they refer to Jesus on their license plates while they're engaging in satanic behavior and criminal activity. 25743 Yolanda 1. This is the Commercial Actor Service Champions Plumbing, Heating, and AC. This looks like a number indicating this commercial vehicle number 15-98. This is Ontario Town Square Townhomes and the Ontario Fire Department, which is across the street. License 8 Kelly Jerry 221, and by across the street I mean across the street from where I'm located, documenting this third party's license plate. I am on B Street when I'm documenting this third party's license plate with the fake sun over my head. Ontario Fire Department, 415 East B Street. License 9 Frank Edward 551. 5 George David Henry 998. Nine Sam Kelly Yolanda 668. 7 Charlie Henry Nancy 722. 8 Charlie Queen Perry 750. 8 Paul Apple David 436. Snap-on at Stereo City. License 70938 Victor 2. License Jerry Uncle 21443. This is a Jalisco license plate. FedEx is gang stalking as well. FedEx is gang stalking at the Stereo City. That is at Sultana and Holt Boulevard. Documented over the years with regard to the fake sun documentation. License 38687 Frank 4. Thomas Uncle Nancy Edward Kelly 5. UNIFirst, a gang stalking company as well. Uniform Services and Solutions, they're gang stalking. License 35902 Apple. I can't see the last character there. UNIFirst is the identification of a third party, however. The license plate is visible except for the last character. I'm keeping it out on the Google Drive. They're gang stalking, which you can clearly see Southwest Airlines and the Ontario International Airport is crossing path, while UNIFirst is engaged in gang stalking on the roads and the highways and using a commercial means. That is a malicious engagement in the pattern of conduct by businesses that are facilitating surveillance with the government. License 60469 Kelly 2. 7 Paul Yolanda Nancy 025. 1580363. Two 4958 Nancy 3. That's a commercial vehicle. Specifically, it's a large truck. License 29288 Edward 3. Commercial vehicle, license plate 17481 Wendy 3. Omnitrans is gang stalking. Crossing path. Seven Thomas Victor Apple 773. gang stalking at Malcolm Avenue and Hope Boulevard in Ontario, California. I have documented this particular neighborhood as well, this street with the fake sun over me before as well. I've been up and down documenting Holt Avenue, the entity keeping the fake sun from sunrise till sunset, the entity gang stalking as I would go from Mercy House back to the library to Upland, California, on Omnitrans to Fontana, and the entity keeping this fake sun and stalking with planes and helicopters. This is the P.O.C. that I'm documenting as of 2025. So there's context, well, not only context, but there is history with regard to this population engaging in surveillance where they live and along Holt Boulevard. 9 Sam Apple Zebra 938. 73423 Edward 1. 6 Mary David Larry 755. 8 Nancy Wendy Zebra 842. David Mary 62 Yolanda 64. That's a paper plate. 8 Bob David Yolanda 711. 8 Robert Kelly George 666. 6 Bob Paul Henry 991. 9 Paul Edward Robert 935. 8 David Henry George 446. 8 Bob David Yolanda 711. I read that one already. This is the parking lot at Cardenas, engaging in terrorism and stalking in a grocery store, psychopathic. This is also speaking to the pattern of conduct by the entity that is monitoring in concert with a hostile population that's engaged in what is both immigrating to the United States while engaging in terrorism. And so the entity is engaging in a terrorism at all times through the gang stalking immigrants. But understand, with regard to what it is that I'm documenting, the subject matter, whatever details I include, that mentally ill population, the demon-possessed that are following my lead while they are stalking me, engage in more of that pattern of conduct in the way in which I am describing, in the way in which I am dictating that the law is going to prosecute it. And so this is the entity. Understand that the entity invited me to Cardenas this morning. I needed to go. That's fine. It's also an opportunity to document. However, it's not a coincidence with regard to what it is that I have been discussing regarding the deportation policy. I don't have to go to Cardenas in order to maintain the deportation policy and to already know, based on the pattern of conduct, that those that are immigrants in the state of California are engaged in the P.O.C. Okay, there is no exception with regard to the pattern of conduct and what the color of your skin is or what language you speak. It is absolutely irrelevant. When you are prosecuting government action that is criminal and corrupt in concert with the population, that population can be divided amongst those that have been granted immigration status, and you will be deported right back to wherever you came from upon engaging in gang stalking. The entities engaged in targeting me through the immigrants who are hostile to the deportation policy. That is even more of what is a demonstration of unworthiness to remain in this country. Okay, this license 6 Henry Charlie Wendy 121, 5 Larry Jerry Edward 852. 9 Thomas Edward Xavier 102. 6 Uncle Edward Apple 292. 6 Yolanda Frank Xavier 269. 9 Paul David Bob 388. Cardenas is located at 720 East Holt Boulevard. Gang stalking, targeting me with impossible light, like I documented while I was inside of the store. Absolutely impossible light. You will see the fake sun hunker down on the roof of that venue. An impossible occurrence, not the sun, the P.O.C. And they are inside targeting me with impossible light as hostile demons, aware of the details of my documentation and policies that will affect them or someone that they know. They're all going to be affected because you will be prosecuted regardless of your race. Okay. License plate. 7 Victor Frank Bob 983. 9 Frank Bob Xavier 581. 8 Jerry 56462. 75151 Samuel 2. 7 Apple Xavier Charlie 737. 6 Uncle Edward Apple 292, in case I didn't read that one already. 9 Thomas Edward Xavier 102. 7 Yolanda George Charlie 827, again in case I didn't read that because I'm going through the parking lot, I'm looking at my pictures. 6 Robert Yolanda Frank 041. Edward Henry 36 Apple 47, that's a paper plate. 9 Thomas 0 Uncle 313. 9 Thomas Igloo Robert 307. 7 Uncle Henry 839. 34892 Mary 3. Griffith Company gang stalking and abusing the provisions of what is a construction license in doing so. And this is a serial stalker engaging in what is multiple documented acts of facilitation and stalking and terrorism and malice, engaging in what is federal group stalking and monitoring while ostensibly engaging in what is the business of construction, which is directly rebutted by the government gang stalking in concert with Griffith Company, stalking in the path, and the ongoing facilitating activity that Griffith Company is engaging in, which is criminal activity and not going to be protected with regard to the use of a license to engage in construction. They're abusing it to engage in the P.O.C. This is malice that Griffith Company is going to be prosecuted by. License 26197 Windy 3. License, California license 88 with regard to Griffith Company. License 8 Zebra Henry Charlie 673. Eight Victor Robert Larry 273. License 4 V as in Victor 2 Zebra Kelly, that's a Utah plate. Four Wendy Victor Henry 654. 8 Xavier 22254. 1544465. Ontario Montclair School District gang stalking in school buses. License 7 Kelly 28720. 9 Uncle Apple Yolanda 166. 8 Kelly Xavier Uncle 047. 1399983 bus 1269 Omnitrans. Zero 06987 Edward 4. 8 Victor 693 Handicap. 8 David George Thomas 260. 2013984. 7 Uncle Queen Victor 966. 8 Thomas Queen Mary 111. 76510 Zebra 3. 37115 Mary 3. 7 Mary Sam 683. 9 Jerry Zebra Charlie 903. 8 Larry Zebra Robert 418, in case I did not read that one already. 24601 Nancy 1. This is a commercial actor, gang stalking with under the guise of engaging in some means of construction, service to the city, wearing the hard hats, surrounding cones in the street, light activity under the fake sun with the entity that's stalking by commercial plane. This is, I believe, Albini. That license plate is 24601N1, captured in images at 11:28 a.m. License 9 Charlie Wendy Sammy 67, 9 Charlie Wendy Sam 677. Nine Tom Yolanda Zebra 435, that's San Bernardino County, at the Ontario City Hall. 8 Nancy Jerry Thomas 893.
Alright, Alexander and Talia, Alex, Taylor, they're inside of the OVITT Family Community Library gang stalking with these demons who are stalking with light. This is what the demon-possessed people of the state do upon my exit of the library. The demons of the Ontario Fire are leading that demonic charge right now, acting directly. Doing so while they are monitoring. These are the license plate. That's a demon stalking with light surrounding while they're crossing path, okay? This is the significance of that environment using the fire lights, a demon manifesting using a fire truck in the engineered environment. The entity is doing so upon my exit. License 9PSF920, monitoring my vagina with Michael GERKEN, an L&D WAPNER, the Ontario Board, the Ontario Executive Team. 6ZYB805, monitoring my vagina with the same city of Ontario. EC79862, and these are just the demons right here. You already know that the demons are engaging in surveillance. The one that is engaged in what is trying to hurl out insults while literally obsessing and studying my vagina in the bathroom where the city of Ontario is maintaining surveillance, and they all hold their breath and wait for me to walk out while they are stalking using all manner millions of dollars and keeping little old me under surveillance. Gang stalking. Gang stalking is in the bathroom where demons who are psychopaths stalk with light. And I want to be clear, Alexander engaged in criminal summoning with the city of Ontario, that's federal prison. Talia, psychopath. She's engaged in gang stalking with this conduct, sitting right inside, feet away, monitoring with the demons and pacing outside. This is P.O.C. This is the OVITT Family Community Library where the fake sun rises and sets. Doing so with demons that are pacing. Cyrus Regis is being prosecuted with everything that the OVITT Family Community Library is doing because it's relevant positioning. It's the entity that's acting ceaselessly. And I've shown you the engineer light in there. I've shown you surveillance ongoing in there. I've shown you the same gang stalking by the people of the state. And the demon is literally flying right here in the sky space. The Ontario International Airport is going to be shut down for the ongoing terrorism and monitoring of vagina genitalia that has nothing to do with the legitimate operations of an airport. This is P.O.C. It's 8:57 p.m. That's a sexual violence by a so-called library. Doing so with minor children is what they're doing now. P.O.C. All right, license plate, not license plate. The City of Ontario encounter with Securitas. You will see at 9:17 a demon, two demons in the parking lot while the entity is stalking by airplane, flying over where you see Amazon Prime gang stalking upon my exit at 4 p.m., where the fake sun's at Cyrus Regis Group upon my exit. Remember, the fake sun's at the same entrance, while demons are engaging in surveillance. These demons that share in monitoring my vagina as well. Sex offender and co-conspirator of murder and absurdly mentally ill. License 8WHM070, co-conspiring murder. Looks like a Latino male, Asian male. That's a demon. That looks like a haughty spirit, like a homosexual male. He's gang stalking. He's doing so with a smile on his face. He's a psychopath. This is license plate. This is a female, hefty, Latina female, fake lashes. Monitoring with the entity 8PZC391. Monitoring while the entity is engaged in what is keeping me under surveillance, doing so with these demons that are surrounding. They are stalking in with light, just like the Ontario Fire Department is. Those are demons that are manifesting in the engineered environment. Where your shadows are standing on the ground or standing upright or magnified in size, they're stalking you. 9HRM970, and they're stalking pursuant to demons who are monitoring you. And so are they of the Ontario International Airport, and they do so with impunity. That impunity, that spirit of haughtiness, that malicious engagement as though, woo-wee, yay, I'm having fun, I'm going to prison, and I'm going to be in federal court, and I'm having fun, that's a psychopath. And the reason why I'm noting it is because you need to be aware of, you who are listening, with regard to mental illness that's a threat to this country, and also those that are immigrants, they're being deported, but also the entity that they're showing their disdain and their hatred. Don't forget about what I'm talking about today when gang stalkers are at the Cardenas monitoring me with
all the ways in which they're communicating their culture that is serving to threaten an American citizen and conspire in their murder with the government that is hostile to federal law, the government that's hostile to law and order, the government that's a criminal and is a violent sex offender that is defending by gang stalking me, terrorists that are helping them commit murder and engaging in criminal stalking and sharing in mental illness. That's what's stalking in planes and in fire trucks. Demons that are hostile to Mr. Trump deporting terrorists. Removing terrorists like Michael GERKEN, okay? Sex offender, one demon after another, sharing in a sex offense, stalking. This is what they're doing under a fake sun, stalking with light. This is a psychopath, license, M4AURA, a psychopath, and is aware of everything happening in the bathroom pertaining to my vagina. And then when they're documented and embarrassed, you can see the demon's face, then they hurl out insults. It's nothing other than audible activity. They're obsessed with my vagina, obsessed. That's why they're spending millions of dollars of an airport, a police department, and a fire department on me. The emergency is that I stepped out of the OVITT Family Community Library. Okay? The entity is not engaging in any takeoff over the C Street turn circle. And their entity is going to be in federal court. And on that day, a psychopath will not be smiling about that. This is mental illness. You need to understand that it's the personality of Satan who is evil, and that evil manifests itself in absurd, demented behavior. All right. And also it's delusional conduct. They're not happy about being embarrassed. This is why you're hearing them hurl out insults that don't even make any sense. You and your mother are monitoring me. So why are you trying to insult me? You and your mother and your baby mother, if anybody procreated with you, all of you are stalking. All of you are demons. All of you are obsessed with my vagina. And that's the truth. Regarding the gang stalker that you heard speaking with regard to, you're both stalking me and you're trying to insult me. That's impossible, Satan. But that's that personality. That's that mental illness. It's flying planes in Ontario. That airport is being shut down. And they have demonstrated to the world, on top of my evidence, the fact that they are an imbalanced population that needs to be stopped and restrained. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Okay? This is the P.O.C. These are demons that are stalking with light. This is the same thing that I'm documenting on a ceaseless basis, and it is directly relevant to things that are going to apply uniformly. And the entity is walking in conformity to that judgment, which is deportation. You're going to deport as many mentally ill murderers and stalkers, criminals, and psychopaths as possible. Absolutely. And you're going to remove as many of these demons from position of authority that threaten the public, that are for lawlessness. They're for chaos and criminal conduct. They are for threatening American citizens who enforce their rights because you don't want your genitalia or your children's genitalia under surveillance in a bathroom, because you don't want to be horrified and stalked by psychopaths who derive pleasure from violating your privacy. They want to sit around in their cars in the parking lot and masturbate while they keep you under surveillance in the bathroom. And they do so with the government that uses all manner of airports and police departments that use all manner of resources of that government to monitor your genitalia, one person, while they are conspiring your murder. Absolutely, these demons are going to be removed. No fire department, nope, that's not even a police department, and it's not a fire department, and it's going to be uprooted. And that's not an airport, and none of that is legitimate airport operations, and the entity has proven itself to, I've already done with the evidence, so Satan has gone to the extent to prove Erica Lorraine Spencer is speaking 1,000% truth about everything that they're doing. And that is a public service announcement, but this is what is terrorism in the United States. And the city of Ontario, that is the state of California, is going to be a national, a worldwide example. Understand that politicians and celebrities are sharing in this psychopathic pattern of conduct. They share in this mental illness. They share in this criminal system. They share in seeking to benefit from it. And they've sacrificed themselves. And you're going to see reverberating consequences at various levels of intensity. This is P.O.C. This is mental illness, though. I'm hostile about what it is that you publish on the podcast today. This is what's going to happen. And engaging in what is that criminal iteration of the P.O.C. What is changing about the result? Absolutely nothing. In fact, the federal government sees exactly what it is that I have stated and why it is necessary, and understands with regard to how the system works and the inherent corruption and mental illness that is required to engage in this conduct. As a government, as a mayor, you have this chaos. Oh, and you don't know? Not only do they know that you know, Leon, Satan, you're being removed based on your corruption that is literally defined by gang stalking throughout the city that you are engaged in literally at that city hall. With the immigrant population that you are supporting in terrorism and in criminal conduct, sharing in mental illness that is absurd with regard to the necessity of immediately being contained. Immediately. And that's what's behind gang stalking police departments and fire departments and city airports and a population, including down to their demon-possessed children. This is sad. It's not just pathetic, it's tragic. It is sad. This is the Nephilim. All of that money and resources, that's what you're looking at. Absolutely, Paul Leon's not staying in office. He's being unseated. And you're walking in conformity to that. I don't know what that was supposed to be, Satan, but you're showing that you're obsessed with me, and you're going to be removed from these positions. And guess what? The immigrants are getting shipped out sooner than later. This is P.O.C. It's currently 9:24 p.m. All right, you're looking at a demon operating what is a commercial means of criminal activity. Securitas is gang stalking. That's what Dylan represents. Securitas is gang stalking. That's what's happening at the Ontario Town Square. Securitas is gang stalking. That's what downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments Terrace Regis represents. Doing so while a demon is stalking in the path, and doing so while in concert with that ambush that I documented with the airport and demons monitoring me, waiting for, that's so pathetic. Think about what they're doing, because this is literally what's going into gang stalking. I'm documenting this ongoing ambush behavior every time I exit the OVITT Family Community Library. The demons walks into the bathroom, stalking me, and a whole bunch of demons are outside of the building waiting for me to come out, monitoring my vagina. Okay, here she comes. All right, here she comes. And you're stalking with planes, you're stalking with helicopter, you're flying over my head as I walk out. What do you think is going to happen to Alexander? Okay, this pot-bellied demon's going to prison. They're the ones summoning the gang members of the Ontario Police. Nobody's forgetting that. Those are the ones they forget. But nobody's forgetting there's a whole thorough investigation that is competently being maintained, and it is held over by me. I'm the one that's leading that. And I'm making sure there is no detail left. And in any competent investigation where you don't have cockroaches who are the Nephilim leading that and engaging in that and trying to sabotage that, because that's not what's going to happen here. No one is forgetting what Alexander of the OVITT Family Community Library is engaging in. Last week, the same morning, last night, last month, 3.5 years ago, because there are no statute of limitations. These are the short-sighted demons that want to behave like this, and then you're perplexed in court when you're asked, how do you plead? It is currently 9:28 p.m. Securitas is gang stalking with the City of Ontario. Securitas is engaged in more than one kidnapping as well. That's a company that's going to be prosecuted. It's 9:28 p.m. Those images are going to be uploaded to the Google Drive. They're crossing path with light activity, relevant positioning, and that's a psychopath. This is mental illness. As the entity is gang stalking me, it's exposed. P.O.C. Sexual assault and battery, demon, at what is 9:29 p.m. I'm capturing images of it. The government's going to be prosecuted for the gang violence that I'm documenting. This is P.O.C. It's 9:29 p.m. All right, stalking by the Ontario Airport at 9:31 p.m. at the Ontario Town Square. That's audible activity. And doing so while, I just want to be clear, 9:45 p.m., flight to Taipei. This is what is Starlux Airlines, flight number JX9. 10 p.m. is Atlanta. That's flight number DL828. That's Delta Airlines from Terminal 2, Gate 209. 10:34 p.m. would be from Terminal 4. Remember, the entity maintains flight activity about every 30 to 35 seconds over me at the Ontario Town Square from 2 terminals, and that's a high frequency of flight conduct where they must be coming back to back to back to back to back. If those were takeoffs from those terminals, however, they wouldn't be hovering over here. But I just want to speak to what's published on the Ontario website, which is only part of the prosecution of the terrorist conduct that airport is going to be shut down for, and they're also going to be federally and civilly prosecuted for. This is one angle of prosecuting and proving their engagement in targeting. This is only one angle. They're going to be targeted from all angles and proven beyond a reasonable doubt, even to science. Science is going to prosecute them. But even on with regard to what is the operations, the overtly illegitimate operations and corrupt operations of that airport, and every so-called leader, the Nephilim that are calling themselves the president of the airport authority, referring to themselves as an airport board and a so-called Ontario executive team, they're going to be prosecuted for this. All right, it's currently 9:33 p.m. where the entity is stalking me at the Ontario Town Square, moving as I move on the grounds of the property. So meaning they're not flying over the C Street turn circle while I'm in the parking lot area after exiting the OVITT Family Community Library. They are advancing as I advance onto the town square area. And that's what you're also observing when that fake sun moves above my head from the town square to the OVITT Family Community Library, which is where the demons are stalking, maintaining presence on the south side of my person while they're maintaining gang stalking conduct with commercial planes. They do so while psychopaths like Securitas, while demons like the people of the state are molesting with impossible light. They're sharing in a sex offense as well. I'm going to prosecute terrorists for sexual violence. That is relevant to psychological torture as they are engaging in what is the criminal conspiracy to murder you. All right, there's a lot in that, and the people of the state are not ready for those federal charges, but that's exactly what's coming. This is P.O.C. This is, again, 9:34 p.m. on behalf of the government. The people of the state are stalking. And they're going to federal prison. Just like demons of that corrupt government, they're going to prison. This is P.O.C. It is 9:34 p.m. All right, Wells Fargo at 240 North Euclid Avenue. Sex offender on surveillance cameras while they are crossing path at 9:37 p.m. and a demon that's stalking at nightfall. I've documented this demon during the day, engaging with a surveillance at the Ontario Town Square, coming in the path with me to sit in alignment to me while demons are molesting with light. They're obsessed with my body, obsessed with my vagina, obsessed with the tone of my voice, obsessed with me altogether, and they're engaging in what is stalking with light. Wells Fargo at 240 North Euclid Avenue is going to be prosecuted for that. The entities engaged in stalking with the fire department, with the airport. Wells Fargo has been a part of the entirety of everything that I've been documenting. Right now, a demon is in that parking lot while they're all sitting in their vehicles, stalking in the path, engaging in psychopathic behavior. The Nephilim. License plate. XDY 9331. That is Texas. Okay, demons. This is a white male. Walking in engineer light, the vehicle lights on that vehicle. As soon as I read that license plate, that demon comes around crossing path. He's a sex offender molesting me with engineer light, gang stalking me with the airport in furtherance of my murder. License plate, and doing so with Wells Fargo, I'm gonna prosecute them. License plate, getting out the vehicle, going to the surveillance cameras for the ATM to see these demons' faces. It's what is 9:39 p.m. license, SKS 6700, sitting in their vehicles, engaged in surveillance the whole time. I'm being molested with impossible light. They share in that sex offense while a demon drives in the parking lot and molests me with impossible light activity. These are the demons that are engaging in gang stalking. They engage in that conduct, and then they're documented, and they are engaging in what is psychopathic behavior as well. They're hostile while they're being shown to the world as stalkers and murderers. And the mentally ill, that's P.O.C. All right, they're on surveillance cameras at Wells Fargo. That's a demon in the background, gang stalking, speaking as the state, engaging in that P.O.C. while those demons are stalking and are being embarrassed while they're being prosecuted online. Okay, that's the pattern of conduct. However, that's what they're engaging in while they're engaging in that P.O.C. as one. A sex offense is what, I was about to say Walmart. Yes, Walmart is a sex offender. I documented them. But Wells Fargo is committing while a demon is crossing path, whatever property they're on, wherever property they're nearby, whatever city that you're in, they're all being prosecuted. It's a means of just identifying. The demon-possessed thought that they could gang stalk you as a whole population. You'll never be able to prove that. And they also think that you can do so anywhere. And how are you going to identify? This is what Satan's mind is. They think that's their mind. And you're demonstrating, I'm showing you through the pattern of conduct, you're going to prosecute everybody. And that is not that which is not feasible. It's totally feasible. You're going to prosecute the government. It's the entity. But you're going to prosecute the business. Where are they at? That light activity, you're on the property of that venue. I'm going to prosecute them. I'm going to prosecute them. And it's also relevant to the people of the state. They're going to produce everything. There's no anonymity. They're using the ATM. They're on traffic cameras. They're using their communication devices. They're going to places after they leave here, gang stalking me. You're not getting away with anything. And I also want to be clear, these demons are going to give up information when they start feeling the heat. And they're already feeling the heat. I'm going to prosecute them. These are demons. It's not just a court case. These are demons. You need to understand that this is evil, and evil always loses. Contrary to what you see with Hollywood flicks. Evil always loses. It already lost. They already lost. This is why I gave a forecast years ago that I'm going to prosecute, and this is where we're at. It is currently, those white males are gang stalking. Those are psychopaths sitting in the Wells Fargo parking lot in the middle of the night stalking me. The moment I go over there and read those license plates, all those psychopaths hop out of their cars. They've been sitting over here stalking the whole time. Getting out, going to the ATM, that's exactly why you're going to prosecute Wells Fargo. That's exactly why. That's how the system, in the same way where the entities talking about, oh, I'm going to call the cops. That's exactly why they're going to federal prison. That's exactly why. This is what they think they're doing. And that's, first of all, that's not even a logical argument. You're gang stalking, and that's not a mystery, and it's nobody's imagination. Second of all, when you go to that ATM, the entity is going to create law. I'm not the entity. There will be laws created whereby the entity is, you're using what is you're going to hop out and go buy a muffin, go into Walmart in the middle of the night where you're gang stalking. You think you're going to hop out and go make a purchase? That's a paper trail. Satan, genius. Not only that, those companies that are going to be prosecuted, they're not going to want you to do that because they're going to face these consequences. And I'm going to let you know right now, it's the implosion of this system. Okay? But this is the P.O.C. This is what they're doing now. They're on surveillance cameras. They're creating their own paper trail. And regardless of my being molested and then tracking who is engaging in that, when the entity is gang stalking you by planes, they're doing it with the people. When you're being molested with impossible light, other demons are around relevant to that. They're doing that for a reason. They don't have one aspect of one element and the rest are absent. When the entity has a fake sun, it's because the entity is gang stalking, meaning monitoring you. And you are being stalked. Under the law, you're monitoring, you are stalking. Okay, it is currently 9:42 p.m. where Wells Fargo is engaging in sexual assault and battery and doing so with the people of the state. They're doing so while those employees are in that venue. They're doing so while the business hours are speaking to the fact that nobody's on the job working inside of that bank, but the entity is still occupying that venue and they're still utilizing it regardless of business hours, and Wells Fargo is going to be prosecuted for 24-hour surveillance. I'm going to prosecute them. My American citizens' lives, my life remains under threat while Wells Fargo is a means of gang stalking me. I'm going to prosecute you, okay? A psychopath is in there on camera turning the lights on and off. They're monitoring. P.O.C. It is currently 9:43 p.m. where Wells Fargo is turning the lights on and off inside of that bank. That's a demon that's monitoring me inside while demons are driving in the parking lot outside of that bank. They're monitoring while the entity is stalking by commercial planes. They're doing so when Wells Fargo is exposing and serving to blow the whistle on Sarah's Regis Group, on the Ontario, City of Ontario, 280 North Lemon Apartments, Metro 102. What the demons are doing in traffic, they're monitoring. They're gang stalking. It's blowing the whistle on everybody, because they're not monitoring by themselves. And that's the entity that's engaged in that P.O.C. together, okay? Wells Fargo is indeed gang stalking with those psychopaths whose license plate I read, and it's 9:44 p.m. P.O.C. All right, the 9:45 p.m. flight to Taipei does not include hovering over the Ontario Town Square. Starlux that takes international flights is not a means or by any plane activity, and that's going to be within the substance of prosecuting and shutting down the airport that's engaged in terrorism. And that is, again, been operated by mentally ill people. So I want to be clear, Alan D. Wapner, Ronald Loveridge, Julia Gu, they're going to be subject to mental examinations based on the mental illness that poses a threat to the people while they've been maintaining an ongoing system of surveillance through the use and the resources of an airport to stalk. I mean, you're engaging what is using commercial planes, you're going to be subject to mental examinations. And this is relevant to what is an extensive investigation. It's not a mystery. This is the already understood as the truth of what it is that I've stated. And it's also proven, further corroborated by the specific environment and the demons that are engaging. Why are they stalking with light? Because the demons are stalking in the sky space over me, following me around in the city with planes and helicopters. But nonetheless, the entity is literally maintaining flight Starlux. They take international flights. They are gang stalkers at the in the city of Ontario. Their flight at 9:45 p.m. is not any sort of guise whatsoever, has nothing to do with what is stalking right now, flying over the flying northwest over the Ontario Town Square, and doing so pursuant to the ongoing impossible light activity that Wells Fargo and light activity that Wells Fargo is creating. While those demons are on the ATM at the same time, this is how you're going to correlate all that concerted activity. This is how you're going to prosecute. And everybody living inside the downtown Ontario luxury apartments, it's not going to be based on always. I was at my grandma's house, so I wasn't gang stalking on this. This is the entity that's, it's not an individualized crime. Your place of residence, you're going to be prosecuted. Your place of employment, you're going to be prosecuted. prosecuted. This is an entire system in operation against one person, and the government is engaging in it with a population. And if you think that you're going to Stater Brothers while the entity has planned to engage in criminal summoning at 8:37 p.m., which you don't know anything about, and you were away and you're avoiding, that's not how that system works, and you are not avoiding a prosecution. Get ready, because these delusional demons that are light-slinging gargoyles, they also don't understand the ways in which they're going to be prosecuted under the law as terrorists. That is forever, and that's justice. It's going to forever change their lives, and that's good. You need to know who they are, and they need to be limited in every area of their life, if not locked up altogether and put in asylums, because that's what's happening. You want to sling around light? You're going to be mentally assessed for that. You're going to be going into facilities. It is relevant evidence regarding behavioral health concerns that pose a threat to the public. You want to engage in what is stalking in planes and helicopters? You want to abuse your government position? That's not ordinary corruption when you're engaging in the demonic pattern of conduct, which is a direct threat regarding your behavioral health concerns that are presented through your criminal activity, which I went to the extent to document. And that's going to be relevant in your certifiable conduct being diagnosed with regard to mental illness. You'll find yourself in a facility, and I'm not playing. I'm not playing. The entities engage in this as a population, and they are in fact mentally ill. That's why they're stalking in the dark parking lot in the middle of the night, and they think only in their minds of those who are mentally ill that they're not looked or viewed as under the law as engaging in that, because their alibi is that, oh, I was going to the ATM. That's literally what they have planned. That's what they have in their back pocket. That's not a plan. I'm going to prosecute, and it will be the basis for diagnosis. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:34.
Alrighty, of what is stalking. This is gang violence. The Ontario airport is stalking to this side of the what is the downtown Ontario luxury apartments. The Ontario Square is on the opposite side. Just to show you, this is the terrorism that the gang members are sharing in with the impossible light activity. The demon with the 8 CET license plate, the gray van, stalking in the path in the parking lot, maintaining light. This demon is gang stalking via gas stall and is maintaining surveillance. You have what is 10:50 p.m. It's currently 10:56 p.m. engaging in surveillance, babysitting my property, stalking in the path with the demons that are pacing. Chevron and ARCO engaging in terrorism together. And this is demonic pacing, and this is my multiple shadows. That's how you know that they're stalking and they're mentally ill. This is the demon that's engaging in that P.O.C. with the government. This is the disbanding of the Ontario Police. License 8DTB 815. This is co-conspiracy to murder while the entity is gang stalking you. This is the entity that's doing so. And maintaining vehicles parked at the property, stalking on the side of the road with light activity. This is surveillance by the state. Okay, that's light activity, relevant positioning in the specific environment. Ontario Airport, gang stalking via commercial planes. Now, as I progress north up the street, the plane activity, which again is totally separate from the departures from the airport. This demon is monitoring with this demon that's maintaining peculiarized light. That's the entity that's engaged in obsessively stalking and monitoring as I walk outside of the OVITT Family Community Library. All right, and doing so in the environment where your shadows surround you, where you have multiple shadows, engaging what is stalking you from place to place. This is what a population, a government does while they are seeking to murder somebody. All right, the entity does so with regard to the elements of monitoring. This is public corruption, and this is with the demon that's gang stalking in their own private vehicle. And doing so with the means of, this is Paul Leon, the City of Ontario gang stalking. This is what Budget is doing. Leonida Builders, license 57617V2. This is light activity. This is my shadow across the street. All right, that's the P.O.C. Here's my shadow back here. This is light activity. That's a demon. And they're monitoring my vagina. They're engaging what are using commercial means of stalking as a state. This is P.O.C. This is the conspiracy to commit murder. This is the business. You see my shadows across the vehicle? They're gang stalking. This is St. Nichols at your service. This is P.O.C. And they're monitoring, surrounding me with this demon that's gang stalking in their vehicle. All right, that's the pattern of conduct. This is mental illness. While they're engaging that, ARCO is going to be prosecuted. This is what they're doing while the fake sun is remaining in alignment to me at this venue, which I've shown you from sunrise until sunset as well. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:58 p.m. Alrighty, these are the demons pacing together. That's a demon in an Ontario police vehicle. They're being disbanded and they're stalking with third parties who are pacing. That's light activity. This is the P.O.C. and this is a demon communicating a threat while they're stalking. You already know what Vivanco has demonstrated: demon possession, molesting from a distance with light, stalking, listening to every word, stalking with light where the fake sun rises in alignment to me. That's a demon stalking with light, exhibiting mental illness. That's putting Mike Lorenz in prison. These are what these baboons don't understand. They're going to federal prison. As I documented their license plates, gang stalking me. I documented their badge numbers, gang stalking me under the fake sun and the engineer light, which is exactly what this is. That's a pattern of conduct by Mike Lorenz, the agency, and Derek Williams. They're going to federal prison. This is the mentally ill that are engaging in a P.O.C. St. Nick's is gang stalking and facilitating, and they're doing so with regard to what is the criminal conduct of Paul Leon. Gang stalking officials like Paul Leon are going to be subject to federal prosecutions. They are the reason, they are the ability to facilitate ongoing public corruption. That's what budget, that's what Brightview, that's what graffiti protective coatings, the city of Ontario, that's what Leonida Builders Incorporated, while they're gang stalking, are serving and representing, and it's the criminal expenditures of resources on state surveillance and furtherance of murder. They will be subject to prosecution for that. Conspiring the murder, engaging in what is public corruption, and the criminal misuse of the resources as gang stalking mayors are the reason they are complicit to it. And that is, again, stalking by the police department while they're engaged in that, and that's an explicit threat. Okay, this is P.O.C. This is the pattern of conduct by that agency of absurdly demented demons. Demons have no business in law enforcement. Demons have no business wearing police uniforms. Demons have no business having access to weapons. Demons are unfit to be in any sort of profession where they're bearing weapons and taking an oath. They are mentally ill and they are criminals and they are predisposed to that. They are engaging in that, and the stalking as an agency using helicopters, the stalking as an agency using the resources of a police department while they are the Nephilim, St. Nick's, I documented them. That's federal prison while they're gang stalking with the Ontario police. Understand how this law is going to work. The entity's doing so with the demons that you already know are molesting with impossible light. So they add in the third party. That's what Budget was doing at the Ontario Town Square. And the entity's engaging what is light activity while they are stalking you. That's why two of my shadows are appearing in front of me on that vehicle. This is the engineered environment. That's the Ontario police stalking by helicopter, punctuating the fact that Mike Lorenz belongs in prison where terrorists are going for engaging in what is criminal surveillance under the guise of being a police department, and the repeated kidnappings by that demon, Vivanco, and every other demon of that Ontario police. They're going to prison. And this is stalking that they're doing all over the internet, because you are going to witness the prosecution and the ways in which domestic terrorists in the U.S. are going to be targeted. And they're going to be deported as well. This is P.O.C. It is currently 11:22 p.m. where the entity is obsessed with me, stalking me where I sleep. P.O.C. Alrighty, you'll see in the images, Ontario Police is obsessing over me. This is psychopathic pacing, stalking in the path, doing so in the sky space. This is a gang stalking immigrant, 115 North F Street, Bethel Congregation, 536 North Euclid Avenue, crab, crawfish, bucket crawfish. They're gang stalking El Pescado, doing so. And what do they do when I turn the camera on? Oh, now they're going to come fly over my head. This is the prosecution of Mike Lorenz, the pattern of conduct. This is mental illness as well. Understand that. Both a mental diagnosis of mental illness. This is pursuant to knowledge regarding surveillance of my device and of my person. This is an unlawful threat and act of terrorism for which the people of the state are going to federal prison for gang stalking with this agency. And the demons that are stalking and keeping me under surveillance while they know they're being documented, so are the people of the state. They're engaging in that conduct with the intent to threaten my life. Engaging in the ongoing psychopathic, ominous stalking. That's what I took in pictures. Minutes later, they're still over here just hanging out. And the minute that I start recording, you witness this, we're looking at this together. The demons fly over my head, the very target that they're stalking. Doing so while those demons who are puppets, these demons that are stalking, hurling out insults while you are obsessing over my vagina. You obsess over me, stalking me. These are demons that are absurdly ill. This is a shadow over here. This is evidence of their mental illness. This is my shadow right here. This is evidence of their mental illness and sickness while you're stalking. Mike Lorenz does not have any chance in federal court regarding the proven pattern of conduct of targeting committed as an entire agency. Not only that, they're demons. That's impossible light activity. while a demon crosses paths, stalking with that agency. This is psychopathic pacing. And this starts when I start recording. That's called light activity. And where's the fake moon? Over the top of my head, that's a demon. They're going to be disbanded. They're going to federal prison. This is 537 North Euclid Avenue. These are demons that are highly unintelligent. St. Nick's is stalking with light in the path. This is what they're doing when the fake sun is rising here. These are demons that initiate this as they know that they're being documented. It's going straight on the internet. Mike LORENZ is going to be federally prosecuted. So is every kidnapper of that agency. So is Jason Fields, Tracy Banks, Eric Corey Spencer, Tommy Allen Banks, T. Cho of the Ontario Police, Jonathan Burnett of the Ontario Police, Vivanco of the Ontario Police. You have Jason Knighton of the Ontario Police, S. Patty of the Ontario Police. They're all demons stalking, just like this helicopter representing a terrorist organization, not a law enforcement agency. They are bearing evidence speaking to what is kidnapping committed by all those terrorists, and every single last one of them are going to federal prison. Every single last one. This is what is going to be the evidence to put mayors in prison, is where you're going to prosecute them. Mayors are going to be prosecuted for terrorism underway. The criminal expenditures, this is what St. Nick's represents, while they're engaging in surveillance as an entity. This is the ongoing psychopathic pacing. There's no coincidences here. This is the entity that's engaging in this before the whole world, and nobody is mentally ill, certainly not the targeted individual. The criminal defamation coexisting with the criminal targeting and psychological torture tactics of this agency equals federal prison plus mental examinations while they stalk American citizens under a fake sun and a fake moon. That's P.O.C. That's the entity stalking by plane, stalking by helicopter. This is the entity that's engaged in no investigation, that has no warrant, no probable cause, has no legitimate interest. This is a public nuisance that I'm documenting for years in the specific environment at that, with the demons who you also know are targeting under a fake sun all day long, engaging in surveillance, stalking me in places like bathrooms on behalf of that agency. There is no explanation other than stalking me while I begin recording, and the entity immediately comes and flies over the top of my head. This is what's going in court. This is the level of probative evidence of targeting me and the mentally ill, the maniacal psychopaths who are engaged in stalking you using a whole helicopter. This is the certifiable conduct. The psychopaths that are actually mentally ill, having the audacity to try to defame somebody else, they're going to mental asylums and they're going to prison. This is P.O.C. That's what's acting with Tracy Banks. Tracy Banks is a psychopath as well. Kidnapping with this agency on May 29th, she's going to prison. That's what you need to understand. They're going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. Let me show you what is my shadow that surrounds. This demon begins flying in circles over my head. That's not rebutting the evidence of you targeting, you engaging in more targeting conduct, which is threatening behavior. Moreover, in the specific environment where artificial light, street lamps do not cause your shadow to surround you. This is demonic, and it's also relevant to the concerted conduct of demons who are stalking. That's not their headlights, that's a demon. They're stalking together. Okay, this is relevant to demons that are going to be removed from law enforcement. This is one shadow. This is another. Oh, here's another rising up in front of me. Two of them in front of me. This is the light activity inside of OVITT Family Community Library. This is the P.O.C. and it's impossible light activity. It is currently, like I stated, it's 11:49 p.m. This is the handiwork of Mike LORENZ. This is the removal for the gang violence in the city of Ontario, the unseating of the domestic terrorist leader, Paul Leon. This is the removal of Michael GERKEN. They're gang stalking as I walk outside of the OVITT Family Community Library, keeping my vagina under surveillance for years, engaging in what is ongoing experimentation while they're engaged in psychological torture, surveillance, and conspiring my murder, while a police department is stalking with a population. Prison, federal prison. This is P.O.C. These are the demons that think they're going to hurl out insults while they're stalking you. Those insults, that hostility, that harassment, that terrorizing conduct while they're stalking with light, while they're engaging in all manner of public corruption, while they are clearly targeting in a way that nobody is mistaken about, that's the conduct that's going to be certifiable conduct. They're going to be going into mental asylums and they're going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. This is where the fake sun rises and sets. They are engaged in psychopathic pacing beside me, psychopathic pacing around me, psychopathic pacing above me. They are stalking in the path while they're flying over there, flying over my head, and they're engaging in this. When do they start? The moment that I turn on the video camera. They were stalking the whole time, obsessing over me, hostile, over there ruminating, angry at me because I'm documenting, and they know they're going to prison. Stalking is not the resolution, however. That's not the answer. But because these psychopaths who are murderers and kidnappers don't understand that, that's why they're being disbanded. That's why. This is P.O.C. This is literally the evidence that's going to remove mayors, to shut down airports like Ontario Airport,
Those are terrorists and they're being shut down. They've been acting with this agency engaging in kidnapping, and they thought that kidnapping is going to support what is defamation on its face and in substance. This is P.O.C. Very foolish conduct. Were the entities engaging in that pattern of conduct with the gang stalking police department? Lisa Rogan doesn't have a chance in court either. She's going to federal prison. All right? All of the fools' behavior, all of their foolish conduct together equals federal prison. It's inevitable. This is the terrorism, the system of terrorism, and Lisa Rogan is going to federal prison. This is P.O.C.